Hi, I'm Novell J. Lee, and on this special episode of The Buzz here at BuzzWorthy Radio, we are presenting to you our extended interview with Advice Unfiltered co-host Christopher David. We recently had him on the show to promote Podcasthon, where we were raising awareness for mental illness. Well, now you are about to see some bonus features that you didn't get to see the first time around, so we hope you guys enjoy this extended cut. The Buzz at BuzzWorthy Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. I just wanted to say hi.
Hi. Just want to say hi.
Just want to say
What's up, bro?
I love it. We're branding right now. I love the fact that we are like representing our stuff because I'm literally my Buzz hoodie is on, my hat's on.
Love that.
My Buzz shirt is on. Hold on, I gotta get up to show that. Well, it's blocking it, but there you go. The Buzz shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, and then I'm Batman.
I'm Superman.
There it is.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. There you go.
There it is.
There it is.
How
you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. I really appreciate you hopping on and doing this with me today.
Hey, listen, I've been waiting to hang out with you. You know, I'm very honored you let me to come on, man. Because, you know what I mean?
I can't wait for Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be freaking boss as hell. I cannot.
You're coming in person, right?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, fuck yeah, bro. Fuck yeah.
I'm going to be in studio. So, yes, you will see on Tuesday.
I love that.
Yes. So I've already been getting messages like DMs from all of your ladies. They're all going like, I can't wait to see you three guys. And there was one. I was very surprised I got this one. It was a GIF. It was a GIF of Kim Cattrall, and it was like her fanning herself at us three. I was going like, oh,
there you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay. not mad at that.
No,
so, appreciate that. But
absolutely, bro.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on over there too. So it's
dude. I was telling Tony the other day. I was like, the best thing that came out of going to that award show at all was meeting you. You know what I mean? Like that was the coolest part, dude. Like freaking, it was fun being there. Like we met a couple other people, but we didn't connect with anybody else. Freaking, like we did with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So freaking, it was. I think that was the whole reason for us to go there. You know what I mean? It was just to be.
I said the same thing, and I know I know I'm probably gonna get into it on Tuesday because I know that there were people who had asked, how did you guys meet and everything? And you did say it, but we never really told them the extent of what happened for that. And
yeah,
I know that the thing that really stunned me from that, not stunned me, but it was just hilarious to me was just how everybody who walked up that saw us three hanging out, they all thought we knew each other for a long time.
Yeah, right.
And they literally said that to our face. They're going like, you guys host, they thought we all hosted the show together.
Yeah.
And we were just standing there going like, nah, we have our own gig. We just met literally 10 minutes ago.
Just met right now.
We literally just met. And they were like, really? Oh, I was like, maybe it's the Jersey in us. I guess that's what it is. We did.
Yeah, well, I'm not really from Jersey. I'm from Pennsylvania. I moved to
You
Jersey.
are from Pennsylvania, yeah.
Yeah. I moved to Jersey 2 years ago. So I'm a transplant.
Yeah, I'm a Jersey man for life, it looks like. So, but it was just absolutely one of the best experiences, just getting the chance to hang out with you guys, because I agree with you. I think you two are really the two that I connected with the most at that event. I did talk to other people, I met other people, but it was just you two really were the best out of everybody that were there. So
thank you, man. Yeah, ditto on that one, dude. Like, to be honest with you, I don't remember. Like, I remember meeting people, but I don't remember what their names are or what their shows are. I know it's terrible for me to say.
There's only one other person I know that I do still kind of infrequently talk to, and I know her show because I literally connected with her on the fact that it says her title is Your Boss Sucks. And I said,
I love that.
I said, you know what? You get a follow for me for that. Because
yeah, right. Just for the title alone.
I did. I followed her show, and I love her show. She's really, really good. And I told her my story, which is we'll kind of get into this here for this, and in reference to why I felt like my boss sucks, but it also ties into the topic matter of what I'm doing with Podcasthon right now. So I think, okay, now I'm going to act like you guys and go like, are we ready? Are we ready to go? Do we do an intro?
Yeah, ready. Yeah, no, do your thing, bro. Do your thing, man.
What's happening, guys? Welcome to the Buzz at BuzzWorthy Radio. I'm your host, Noel J. Lee, and I really don't like guys or girls in the podcast community calling me by my real name. I love when everybody calls me Buzz, like you do, who's my guest here, because honestly, that's how I really appreciate being a part of the podcast community, is being called by Buzz, being called by my show name. It's really awesome. So I have this incredible guest to kick off Podcasthon. And what it is, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is an initiative where podcasters from around the globe come together to bring awareness to charitable causes. And the cause that I chose to bring awareness to is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And it is the nation's largest grassroots organization for people suffering through mental illness. And it is a topic that I've been very vocal on my show. I've had guests on my show that we dive into that topic whenever it gets presented in the midst of conversation. I also share my story from suffering from a mental breakdown. It's 2026 now, 4 years ago. So I like to talk about it, especially for a man to bring that up, because there's so much stigma around that for a guy to want to talk about mental illness. So I'm very happy to bring awareness to this, and we will be giving out the links for you guys to go to the National Alliance on Mental Illness to check out their website, as well as Podcasthon, so you can check out other podcasters on their charitable causes that they're willing to promote. So, but my guest is from the award-winning podcast Advice Unfiltered, and he also has a book. I listened to the Audible. I listened to the whole thing, and it was just, I mean, I talked to you about it. It was just absolutely, it was I don't want to say riveting, but it was very truthful in your book to what you had to say about. What shocked me was that I didn't realize this was only roughly 10 years ago, almost, that a lot of this happened. I thought this was way back in the day when you were much younger than that. So to find out that it was just within a 10-year span of where you are right now, that really was shocking to me. But I'm very humbled and very happy to have Christopher David here joining me.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. That's probably the best intro I ever had. That was good shit.
Yeah, man. I listen, when you said the word that you were going to come here, I literally said, say less.
Yeah.
Say less.
I was honored, bro. I was honored, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, I respect you a lot, and I respect what you do, and I see you interview all these top celebrities, and the fact you asked me to go on your show is just, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You have story to tell, and I love talking to people who have stories to tell. I mean, obviously, these, when we have the actors and actresses and people behind the cameras on my show, we're promoting it. We're promoting whatever they got going on, but somehow it turns into a conversation with what else is going on. And I love getting in depth with that. And you definitely are a person who really, really struggled, but you turned that struggle. And that was the one thing that from your show on Tuesday resonated with me the most. I love that you had to say that you necessarily don't want to relive in the past, but when you do talk about this, you talk about the positives of what came from that. And that's really what I love about your stories, because that's not your focus. Your focus is not what happened before. And my first question for you is that when it came to the book, because I know you had the book, and I think the other comment that you had about it was like, once you had the book, it was done. You don't really kind of focus on the book anymore. You have it done. It's out there. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, do you feel like if you hadn't have written that book, this still would have manifested in your mind, and it still would have been a part of you that you would not have gotten past?
Yeah. If I wouldn't have got past, you asked if I wouldn't have got past it if I wouldn't have written the book?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
No. The book wasn't a stepping stone for me. It wasn't. It wasn't me. It wasn't. I know it sounds crazy, and I try to get all emotional about it, but the reason I started the book is it was never just about me, because I felt like this whole time that it wasn't about me. That's why I really don't promote it. I really don't push it out there. Like, you hear me talk about what people talk about it with me. The reason being is because I felt like if I didn't tell this story, if I didn't tell my story, if I didn't tell my struggle and my thing, that somebody out there was going to fail in their own life. And I felt like I needed to write the book because somebody else out there was going to read it and they were going to change the world. Like they were going to have keynotes and key tools now that they didn't have before, and they're going to go out there and be the next Tony Robbins and the next the next Mel what's her name, Mel Robbins and
Robbins.
Yeah, and I thought somebody out there, a younger person or a male or female, would read this book and be like, "Fuck, man, I'm not alone in this." You know what I mean? Like I'm not alone in this. Like there's people out there because again, like as you said, people make assumptions about me. Right off the bat, right? They see me and they think, "Oh, this guy's probably had a fucking easy life. He's got whatever the fuck he wanted." You know what I mean? And it's not the case. it's far from it, right? Yeah. So I think writing the book was just it was hard for me to write because nobody really wants to hear. Nobody really wants to write down all their bad choices, right?
That's fair. That's
fair, right? Nobody wants to be like, "Oh man," and it was funny too because when I had somebody writing it with me, right, keeping notes and all this stuff. And I remember she came back to me after the book was written, and she goes, "Chris, this book doesn't really make you sound good." And she goes, it really doesn't make you. It doesn't really, highlight, you as a person. And I said to her, and I think the word you were looking for when you were describing it as I needed to be raw. I need to be real. I'm not trying to put myself out there to be like some perfect guy who just all of a sudden woke up one day and decided to make the right choices, and all of a sudden his life was all fucking roses and sunshine. And that's not real. That's not the case at all. If you can. So I needed to understand why I made the choices I made, right? Because that's really what it's about, right? Is accountability. That's what it's about. So to understand the choices I made to get me to that point where I turned to drugs, where I turned to alcohol, where I thought about suicide, where I lost everything, was living out of my car. They had to understand where I came from. What helped me create those choices, right? What made me feel like I wasn't good enough to make a better choice, right? And I think that's why I went back so far back into my childhood and how I was raised, because a lot of us are raised like that, especially guys our age, or girls our age are raised like that, where the dad didn't talk about the emotions, right? They didn't talk about none of our parents or grandparents ever talked about mental health ever.
Never did.
I mean, it wasn't a thing. So
it was like a curse word for them.
It was. Well, I was talking to a lady from Ukraine, and I'm sorry, no, not Ukraine, Poland. And I was talking to her, and we were talking about mental health, freaking, and we were talking about therapy and all this stuff. And she said it herself. She goes, my country. She goes, people look at therapy as for people who are schizos or like mentally, or on they're handicapped. Something's wrong with them. You know what I mean?
That's where the stigma comes in.
That's where the stigma comes into play, right? And I really thought that if I wrote this book, that it would really, really help somebody. In fact, I guess it was like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I got sick with COVID. And really bad, and I thought I was going to die. I was sick for 3 weeks, bro. And and I actually, and I'm going to try not to get emotional about this, but I actually cried and I prayed to God. I said, I can't do it anymore. I said, I can't do this anymore, man. I say, I think I'm tired, I'm exhausted. My ex-wife again took my son from me at the time, again, and I knew she wasn't going to let me see him, and I was at the fight for him again. And I was like, man, I'm too tired. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And I actually apologized because again, I thought me writing the book was bigger than me, right? Like that was a thought and a feeling that was put into me by a higher power. Like whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, we are created in an image. I'm a firm believer that if you believe in the universe, believe in God, either way, those things exploded into a miracle of things of happening, right? So if we are creatures of the universe and we are creatures of God or whatever, then why wouldn't the ability to pass down that ability to create our own life, and no different than him creating the universe or the universe creating itself in the Big Bang, why wouldn't we be able to have that same ability, right? So I actually cried. I prayed to God and I said, listen, I said, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired, and no lie, bro. I fell asleep. It was 11 o'clock. I fell asleep. I woke up at 3:30 coughing my ass off, like coughing, and I felt like I coughed something out of me, Like it was, I couldn't breathe, and I fell back asleep. Immediately fell back asleep, bro. Right, and I wake up that morning, and it was like you said, I was bedridden for 3 weeks, dude. 3 weeks bedridden,
Yeah.
and I woke up that morning and I felt like I needed to go somewhere there was a pier, and I was still living in Pennsylvania at the time, and I needed to go somewhere there was water and there was a pier. So I literally got up, dude. I took a shower and I jumped in my car and I drove 3 hours to North Jersey. No game
Okay.
plan, no idea where I'm going, no idea what I'm doing. I get there probably about 4 o'clock, right? So I got about 2.5 hours till the sun's going down, right? It's like the end of August. And I get there and I pull up on the beach. It's like a fair. It was like I forget what beach it was at. Freaking, I could drive you there, but I can't remember the name of it. It's wherever that gym is with the big Hulk freaking standing in front of it. But anyway, so they I pull up and I asked the guy because he had to pay to park. I asked the guy, like, is there a pier by here? He was actually, yeah. If you drive down the beach a little bit, here's a pier right down there. You go fishing off the pier. I'm like, awesome, bro. So I go driving down there, and I get out, and as I'm walking on the pier, there's this lady on this golf cart all the way down the end of the pier. And she comes up, she's like, oh, it's $5 for bait and the fish off the pier. I go, oh, I was like, I forgot my wallet in the car. I was like, if you drive me back, I'll get it. So as I get in the thing with her, her granddaughter calls her, right?
Yeah.
And her granddaughter sent her, and she's like, and I hear her having this amazing interaction with her daughter, right? This sitting there talking about, she bought her granddaughter a fishing rod, and she's saying, Mimi, I can't wait to see you. And they're having this amazing, amazing moment. So they get off the phone. I said, oh, that was a beautiful thing to see. You know what I mean? I said, I miss my son. I said, right now, I said, my ex-wife took my son from me again, and I'm not going to see him again for a while. And I know that. And being a parent is not only the best thing that's ever happened to me, but it's also the hardest fight I've ever had to fight. Because with both my kids, I had to fight to be a father, And all I ever wanted to be was a dad. I didn't want to fight anybody. I just wanted to be a dad. And she starts crying. And I was like, what's wrong? She goes, that was the first time I talked to my granddaughter in 6 months. She goes, her mom took her from my son, and that was the first time my son's had her in 6 months. And they got court coming up on Friday, and I'm scared to death that he's not going to be able to get custody. And so I shared my experience with her, right? I talked to her about my experience, and I talked about and I gave her advice about what her son needs to do to secure his fatherhood, right? Like he has to document things, he has to write things down. This is what he has to do, and trust me. And if he needs somebody to talk to, if he needs somebody to help him, let me know. And she starts crying and she hugs me, and she goes, "You have no idea how much I needed that right now." It always gets me. Because I sit there and I go, and she goes, and I go look at her and I go, wow. I was like, you're the reason I'm here. Like, you're the reason I had to come here today. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I was dying. I was dying,
literally
bro.
dying.
I was literally dying. And I prayed to God, and I said to him, I said, forgive me for not finishing the book. I said, forgive me for not getting it done, because I know that was my mission, right? And so that should happen, bro. And I'm still in contact with that lady today. Her son has her kid, but it goes back to that whole thing about a bigger purpose, right? A bigger meaning. And that was what put the fire back in my ass again. That was God. That was the universe saying, hey, you're not done yet.
You're not done yet.
You're not done yet. You got shit to do. You're not done yet. Yeah, you're sick. Yeah, you're tired. But guess what? You're not done yet. You got shit to do. So for me, again, the book wasn't a catalyst to end something for me. It was a catalyst to begin something for somebody else.
Do you feel like that was the push to start Advice Unfiltered, or was there something else to where the podcast came into fruition?
Well, so my whole life, man, I've been told about my voice. It's so funny because people think I fake it. I've had this voice since I was 13, bro. Since I hit puberty.
Guys, so he's not AI right now. This is not AI.
Not AI. All real, right?
All real.
Gray hair and wrinkles. And so my whole life I used to get told that I should do something with my voice. And I actually went to Kennedy School of Broadcasting and graduated top of my class, man. It was so funny because even when I went to school there, they started I was always the oldest person in class. I was at Cherry Hill. And,
I was actually supposed to go to CSB and it shut down. I got accepted into it and then I got shut down. I
got shut down. Yeah. Well, they just not. It was great. It was good. It taught me a lot. But at the end of the day, you really don't need it.
Right.
But yeah, so they when I went to school there, even the teachers were treating me differently, like everybody else. Like freaking, like I'm like, and I pulled his name was Tim. I pulled him aside one day. I was like, Tim, listen, I know you're treating me differently, bro. I was like, is there a reason for that? Like, it's because I'm old. And he goes, nah, man. He goes, we know who you are, and he winks at me. I'm like, what do you mean you know who I am? Who am I?
Yeah.
Who
are you?
He goes, man, we know you're a secret shopper from corporate checking on us. I was like, dude, I was like, Tim, I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know anybody in corporate. I paid the 10 grand. I'm here. I was like, I need you to teach me, bro.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So funny, bro. So then I graduated, top of my class, and I did it all for a girl. This girl thought her parents thought I wasn't good enough to date. And I wanted to show her that her parents that I was good enough to be with, you know. And I went home right after I graduated, and she packed her stuff up and left.
Oh, whoa! Wait a minute.
Yeah, but it was funny because I was leaving the school. Actually, let me back up. I got that wrong. Let me back that up. So I leave the school on my way home. I hear on the radio that they're having the Philly Chili Bowl, right?
Okay.
And Kevin Spraga from Top Chef's going to be there. The Bono brothers, who own the Italian market for like 120 years, are going to be there. The head of culinary school is going to be there. I think they had one other judge there, right? And I'm like, well, what a great opportunity, bro. I was like, why don't we go and interview all these people? So I called them on the phone, and they said, yeah. So I ended up going, and I ended up interviewing all these famous people, right? Me, this guy, Dan, and this guy, what the hell was his name? He was Josh. Freaking, all went. Three of us all went. I'm like, here we are, bro. We just graduated class, and we're already interviewing top celebs, right? Yeah. And so I do the whole thing, and then I go home, and then she packs her stuff up and leaves. I was like, fuck. And so then I didn't do anything with it. I didn't do nothing with it, bro. I went back to bartending. I went back to training. And I also went back to doing drugs and drinking, right? Because I was like, fuck, man, what was the point? I had to spend all this time trying to prove I was worth being loved. And they left me anyway, right? Because my biggest thing, and I think you probably got that from my book, is abandonment issues, right? And that was my like not feeling like I was worthy enough. And everybody I dated or I set myself up with were all people that I needed to prove that I was worthy of love, right? And then when they left and it didn't work out, it's because I self-sabotaged, right? Yeah. So I started that, and then God, probably about I guess it was 5 years ago. I started a podcast with two of my friends, man, Bobby Newton and German Herrera. German Spanish and Bobby's black. But I grew up with both those guys, both of my family. But I thought about it. I was like, we have a great chemistry. And if I have a Spanish guy and a black guy, the only thing I'm missing is a gay person, and then I can talk about whatever the hell I want. You know what I mean? Nobody's coming at me, bro. You know what I mean?
It's a different version of Mod Squad, fam.
Yeah, dude. I was like, we can talk about whatever the fuck we want. Nobody can say shit. You know?
That's right.
Because you're my age, right? So when we grew up, like we would bust on each other, about our ethnicity or whatever else. Like I would walk into Bobby's house, and he'd be like, "Yo, what's up, Kevin?" I'm like, "Who the fuck is Kevin?" He's like, well, all you white guys look the same. I'm like, that's fucked up, bro. And so we all busted each other. We were able to have this conversation.
You're literally like my friends here. My best friend, all they do is just, should I tell this story? Okay. Maybe
you can tell me.
I can tell. I'll tell. Well, it's public, so I can't really hide from it, but it's just, so if anybody who's listening and watching this, who been on Facebook, there were memes that came out, and it was this one meme in particular that it was a white and a black guy, and it had my redneck black t-shirt pointed to the white guy. Black guy was wearing it, and then the white guy is wearing my nigga on it shirt like that. And my best friend, I love him to death. He is my best friend. Guybo, he literally said, we should totally do this. And we got the shirts made. It was for my birthday.
I fucking love it.
I
fucking love it, dude. I fucking love it.
I think it was the year we went to the movies. I don't know if it was for Suicide Squad. I think it was Suicide Squad year we did that. Yeah. And all I remember is that we left the theater. He had to go to the bathroom, and I left him by himself while I stood out there. So there was a security guard who was a black chick who stood.
That's fucking great,
who was
dude.
So pissed Wait, I said that wrong. I had to go to the bathroom, so he was left standing by himself at the front. So she was standing there. She sees the shirt, and he's literally having to defend himself, going like, "There's a black guy that has another. I swear to God, I swear to God." And so I come out of the bathroom, and he's like, "You know, you're not supposed to leave me alone
No,
with this
it's
shirt
right
on."
next to me.
And then I come out, and then she sees the shirt, and she was like, "Okay, that's funny." So, and that's literally
That's
what we do.
fucking
We're
great.
so outlandish. It's just like people look at us, and they're like, "What the hell is wrong with both?"
See, I love that, man. I think the best way to combat any of that shit is through humor. Robert Williams said it the best, bro, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to combat hate, the best thing to do is make people laugh, right?
You know, when you're saying that story, she just up and left. I'm just gonna do this, and I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna imitate this guy. Do you have an award for being in relationships? No, I do. Just remember that. It is right here next to me in my room, just like how it is in Tony's right behind him. It is right next to me to my right.
Right there,
It
bro.
is right there. Just like,
Dude,
say it again. Here it is.
That was so funny this Tuesday when I found out we're doing a relationship thing. I was like, because in my whole life, I think I've ever broken up with 2 people. They've all left me. So being like, I'm a relationship expert, you know. But then I was talking to somebody today, and they said to me, you know, those who can't teach, right? So
Yes.
yeah. So no, it's funny, man. No, it's funny. No, so I think humor's good. I think it's good to make fun. Like so my even though I grew up in a small town of Olney, Pennsylvania, right, on a horse farm, right in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. 20 minutes down the road was Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
And,
yes.
yeah, and Reading was #1 for crime and violence 10 years in a row in the whole state. You know what I mean? We used to have shirts that say "I survived Reading," right? So my first bouncing job was the El Tapatio up at 9th Street, which was an all Spanish bar. I'm the only white guy to work there, right? My whole crew that I hung out with were all black. We all trained together. We all fought together. We all bled together, you know. My second bouncing job was the CP Club, which was an all-black club. Freaking, and I was the only white bouncer to work there too. And I used to have my own little spot to hide behind the bar when they would go by and do drive-bys because they used to get really fucking bad to gang guys.
I believe it.
And so it's funny because my boy Bobby, and you have to meet Bobby one day. He looks like Michael Jewell White, great guy. So I mean, all my functional fighting, and gave me some of the best advice I've ever had in my life about how to overcome things. Like one of the best things he ever told me, we were sparring for about 2 hours, and he's a big dude. He's like 6'2", and he's like 230 pounds, and he doesn't have like 2 arms and 2 legs. He's got like 4 legs. Like his arms are long as shit. And so we would spar all the time. We were sparring for like 2 hours, and he kicked me in the chest, got me good, dude, knocked the wind out of me, launched me, bro, right? And he comes up and sweat dripping down his face, and sweat dripping down my face. And he looks at, I was like, dude, I'm done. And he looks at my face and he goes, man, you're still breathing, right? I go, yeah. He goes, and you can still fight. Shut the fuck up, get up, you know? And I was 19 when he told me that, bro. And it's been stuck in my head ever since. Anytime anything happens to me, anything that if I'm still breathing, I can still fight. But my whole point about any of this is that I've never been one to associate people with a color or nationality, right? I've always seen them as a human being. The only thing that separates us at all, man, is that I get older and look older, and you guys look younger as you get older, which is fucked up. It's just fucked up. Like Bobby still looks like he's 22.
I never denied it. I will still not deny it. And literally, I used to work with this girl, and she literally would tell me all the time, and she was like, I don't understand how you guys can look the same as you did so many years ago.
Yeah, like, dude.
I don't understand. Like, we have to moisturize, but yet you can look like this for eons. And I'm going,
oh, yeah. Oh, my boy Bobby still looks exactly the same when I first met him, bro. I hate him for
it. and literally, when people tell me that, I was like, I'm not even sorry.
No, don't be. No, own that shit.
Not even sorry. I do own it. I own it verbatim. I just literally like smile. Like you're welcome.
Well, it's like I made friends with Freema. You know Freema Adjman?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so me and her are good friends. And when she told me how old she was, I was like, no fucking way. I thought for sure she was in her 30s, like early 30s. Yeah. Maybe she is. I'm not giving her age out. Maybe she is. That's what you put. But yeah, she's cool. But she looks great. Like it's an amazing thing. But yeah. So anyway, so back to the book thing. Yeah, it wasn't a closing of a chapter for me. And it wasn't a stepping stone for me. It was something I had to get done because something bigger told me to get it done.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why even now, like I said, I talk about it, you know what I mean? When people ask me about it, but I feel like it's one of those things that's out there in the universe that it'll find that right person that needs it. Right. And I would have never thought, dude, I think I sold 500,000 copies. I don't know the exact, I don't even know the exact numbers of but I know it was number one and number two on Amazon twice, for men's mental health, which I'm very, very proud of. But it was never the accolades for me, man. It was just the idea that I had to get it done because there was somebody out there that needed to read it and that needed to get better from it. Yeah, they let them know they're not alone. You know?
I love that you look at it as that it's not really a focal point for you in your life, but it's there for, as you just said, if anybody needed to read it, if it needed to speak to somebody. And
Yeah.
I think, I read it after I met you, but for me, I even said when I first met you guys, when I did, the first thing I said was, I don't know why that I really resonated with these guys so much. There was like a reason why we clicked as soon as we did.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got to know you and then learn a bit more about you and then listen to the book on Audible, I immediately just said it clicked and I went, that makes total sense now as to why I do feel the way that I do about these guys and now why I consider them not just my friends, but they're now like my family at this point. And
I love you, bro.
and it was just because I know I went through it, and again, it's not something I shy away from, but it's also and it stemmed from work when I had my breakdown, and it got to a point where it was just a lot of things were too much, and
Yeah.
I didn't really have the support that I needed from my boss at the time of that job. I got laid off from this job 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
it did file for Chapter 11 and Chapter 7 bankruptcy shortly after I was let go.
Yeah,
And
dude.
so for me, when it happened, for the breakdown aspect of it, the thing that stuck with me was my boss said that when I had the breakdown, he pretty much told me that you need to find another place to work if you're,
Wow.
you know,
Wow. Wow.
there was no support there whatsoever, and I was very fortunate. I had my family and my friends who did support me when it happened, but hearing from my boss nowhere near anything close to that,
Yeah.
it was very jarring for me, and it opened up a lot of my
Old
thoughts
wounds.
about it. It really opened up a lot of demons in me. I always talk about having imposter syndrome. I always talk about I didn't have abandonment issues, but I also know what you're saying about being loved and not being loved aspect. Um, a lot of that started creeping in a little bit, and I hate sitting alone with my thoughts sometimes because then I always over abundantly think, oh my God,
Yeah.
they don't really like me, they don't really care about me, they don't XYZ. It's so weird what goes on in this mind of mine at times. And
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing, Buzz, is that it's not just you that has those thoughts, right?
no,
It's not like those thoughts, those imposter syndromes, those moments you're alone, and those voices in your head are ringing so loud. It's one of the lessons I learned, right? It was because there's so much distraction, there's so much noise. You know what I mean? It's like if I want to feel better, I'm going to buy something. If I want to feel better, I'm going to hang out with somebody. If I want to
yes,
feel better, I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to drink. I'm going to have sex. I'm going to do all these physical short term fixes to distract myself from being in my own head, right?
mm-hmm.
And it's funny because we all do it, man. We all try to run away from ourselves,
Yeah,
because sitting with ourselves is the hardest thing. I think it's one of the hardest lessons we have to learn, right? Is that silence is, and you hear me say this on my show all the time, it's a gift. It's a gift, man, because the one thing that you have constantly that's with you every day is you. And if you don't learn to be comfortable with you, then everything else around you is going to be chaos.
yeah,
It's going to be one of those things. And I think going back to your question about the podcast, I started, like I said, I started with German and Bobby. We call it part of the tribe. Is what
yeah.
we called it, part of the tribe. And we did a lot of episodes, and they were great. They were fun. They were really good. If you get a chance to check it out, they are on YouTube, part of the tribe. Great group of guys. Still love them to
Okay.
death. But because I moved, I was here, and when I came here, I really focused on the acting and modeling, and it was taking off for me pretty good. And then that writer's strike hit, and
Yeah,
everything stopped,
yeah.
bro. And I was like, fuck. And so then it became Lifetime came to me and offered me a job, and I went there to go work. And I knew what it's entitled to be a trainer. Like everybody, yeah, listen, everybody's thinking about being a trainer. You see those ads on the thing that says,
Yeah.
"Hey, you want to work out and get in shape, become a trainer." No, the problem is now your job is where you like to, where your peace of mind goes, right? Most
Yep.
people go to the gym to get that peace of mind. Well, now you work at that place, and now
You
your
work
job
there,
is
so
part
you
of.
can't.
Yeah, you can't work out. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot. Like if you want to be successful in that business, you have to work outside your hours. You have to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it takes a lot, and I knew it would take a lot to do that, right? Um, and then my social media kind of peaked like a year ago.
Hmm.
Last it was a year ago, February. I had 3,492 followers on Instagram. That's all I had. And I had 232,000 on Facebook, and I had 248,000 on TikTok. And it was frozen. It wasn't growing. It wasn't changing. And I was working my ass off. I was just working, working, working. I was putting in about 60 hours a week, and which was fine at the time because I didn't have my son.
Yeah.
But I'm also 49 years old, and I really don't want to work 60 hours, and I don't want to work 10-hour days, and I don't want to I don't want to do that crap. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I made a promise to myself 10 years ago that I was going to use what God gave me. My whole life, dude, my whole life, from my parents to whoever I dated, I based my decisions on what made them feel comfortable. Right? I didn't do what I wanted to do. Right? Like
You
I
didn't
got
put
off of my
yourself first, basically.
yeah, I got a contract from Wilhelmina and Ford, one of the top two model agencies in New York when I was 22. My mom told me looks fade and threw them in the garbage.
Mm.
Girls I dated hated the fact because I'm a social butterfly, bro. I hype people up. I'm really what I'm really good at is when I'm in interaction with somebody, I make them feel like they're
Yeah.
the only person in the fucking world and they are the most important person in the world. I'm really good at doing that because I'm generally I care. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I genuinely feel that way, right? It's not a mask. It's not. I'm excited to be alive and I'm excited to meet people, right? And
I want to stop you there for something real quick because you saying that and watching your social media videos every day, and you say that to people all the time, and people like to come in there and troll and say that that's not really your persona, it's
yeah,
fake, and that's not really your personality. And I'm just sitting here going, it's actually you're 100% wrong. And
yeah,
this is literally who he is as a person. He is actually someone who, and I love that about you. And it's something that you can pick up on is that you, when you are talking to somebody, you make sure that that is in your vision the only person in the room. You're making them feel
yes,
like they're the only person in the room. You're making them feel important. And
yeah.
the fact that there are people that don't grasp that concept, it just kind of makes me feel like, well, I really don't want you as a person in my life because I mean, I'm dead ass honest. It took me a long time to feel that way about people because one thing I will say when I talked about the job too and how that mental issue happened, it really, it really made me see people in a different light. It made me stronger as a person. It also made me realize what I gave up because of that job. Because in essence, you were working a lot. You didn't want to work so much because there were things you wanted to do outside of work that you really did not want to put all of this time into your job. And that's what the job did for me. And the first thing it said for me in my head was I had to give up the podcast at that time. I literally
There you
stopped
go.
doing it for 2.5 years because of that job. I didn't put out any material. I didn't put out any new anything. And people were asking me, where's new episodes? Like, what's been going on? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it was because of that job. I literally made that job my focal point. And
So,
I
but
hated having that.
I'm gonna stop you there. I want to ask you. So when you made that choice, right? Was
Okay.
that was it a comfort zone for you, or was it like it was comfort and easy, right? Because you
The
were
job or
you putting yourself taking not so you put yourself like so for me, right? It was easy for me to take the job a lifetime. I knew I'd kill it, right?
yeah.
I knew I'd be really good at it, and it was something that everybody, including my oldest son and the girl, would take the time. Chris, you need to take this job. It's a
Mm,
6-figure job. You got health benefits, the whole nine, right? It's
yeah.
safe, right? And so my question to you is: do you think you took that job because it was safe for you, also?
I mean, it was part of it, but at the time, it was an advancement in my career at the time in
Yeah.
pharmacy when I was doing it. And so I did take it, but I didn't at the time realize how much they were going to put on my plate because of it. Because, they had promoted it was work-life balance, this and then the other thing. That wasn't the case. There was no
Right?
work-life
Is that
balance
funny
at
how that
all.
works? Is
That's
that funny how
not.
that works? I've learned that the corporation people, they go, "Hey, we're a family here. We do all this stuff." The moment they say that, they're full of fucking shit.
It was an
Full of shit.
absolute lie. It was an
Yeah,
absolute lie. And
absolute fucking lie, bro.
I was so pissed at, and I was so pissed that I had to give that up because when I came back to it, which was the year that the strikes happened, the writer strikes and the actor
Yeah,
strike happened with 2023, and getting back into it, the first thing I said to people when I at the current job I'm doing as well, which is in pharmaceutical sales at this point, if this messes up my podcast gig, I'm not taking the job. And
yeah. There you go.
I flat out told every person who I've ever interviewed after that point, I said, if this interrupts this, I'm not taking the job. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm not going to do it. This is
Yeah,
something that means something to me. This is something that I built. I didn't spend almost 20 years to make this be something. And then all of a sudden I have to go, I'm not doing this anymore. No, we're not doing that. I'm coming here. I want to do this job with you. I like working for you. I like working with you, but don't take this away from me because if you do, I'm not going to
yeah,
work here or at all. So,
yeah.
and ever since I
I
said that,
respect that, dude. I respect that.
and they respected that from me too because they're very supportive of this
That's awesome.
at my job now, and they know there was at one point I was supposed to do a red carpet for Kate Hudson's new show on Netflix for Running Point, and I didn't go because I had to do a business dinner in New
Really?
in North Jersey. Actually, it was in North Jersey. I was supposed to go to New York to do that event, and then my boss couldn't go to the dinner. He asked me to go in his place, even though I had this already set up a month ago.
Oh,
And but I was also at the other job when I set that up.
yeah,
So then
yeah,
when I
yeah,
came
yeah.
into the new position, and that happened, I still didn't have time yet to burn, so I couldn't take off. And I knew how that works in the game. You know, you got to make your boss look good. So I
Yeah,
was like, you know what, I'll do this. So, but you owe me.
yeah, yeah.
So I went and I told them, I had something going on, but I didn't tell them what. I said I had something going on, and then
Yeah.
I said, but I will be there in place of Alex, and then
Yeah.
from there. And then I get there, they find out what the event was that I canceled, and they said, "Why didn't you say no? Do you
Right.
still have time to get there?" I was like, "Well, by this point, the red carpet's over. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
not going
yeah,
to get
yeah.
my time now, but I might as well just get a meal out of it." So
Yeah, right, right, right.
I'm compensating now with food. So, and then that was also the weekend that the Eagles parade was going on.
Oh yeah.
They won the Super Bowl, and I didn't go to the
Go
parade.
birds.
And I didn't go to the parade. And they said, because I was also at a meeting as well up there, and they said, "You mean you gave up Kate Hudson and the parade for us?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said,
Yeah,
"We're gonna have to teach you how to say no." And I said, "Don't worry, I can say no. I
yeah.
just did this as a favor." But
Right.
they had been very, very on board, and I really do
That's awesome.
appreciate that with this job. And they know what I do. They know I get everything done. They know, and they have my back with this, and
That's awesome.
it's been an absolute
That's a
blessing because I
blessing,
never
right?
really had that prior to this job. Yeah, well, that's a lie. Yes, I had, but not to the extent of this, where I'm working kind of in a bigger position
I
where you
think.
can have your own hours in essence, but
Yeah.
not really your own hours.
Well,
But
I think that goes back into tying in what we were talking about, right? Like you made a choice, right? You made a
yeah,
choice before this job that this is more important to you. This is my dream. This is what I'm going to do, right?
yeah,
And I think that's what this whole thing is about, right? Is making that choice to commit to your dream.
yeah,
And to go back into what I was saying about how me and Tony got together is I knew when I took this job at Lifetime that if I wanted to act and I wanted to model and I wanted to pursue what I wanted to do, then the only way it was going to be possible for me is if I became the top trainer at my gym and I showed them that I'm valued, right? That you need me, right? Like I bring
yeah,
something to the table that nobody else fucking brings. So that way when the occasion arises, that everything starts taking off for me, and I go, yo, man, I got to take off. They're cool about it, and they are. And I did that, right? But I made a choice in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, man, people love my voice, right? And I really have something to say. Like I have something to say. I'm not just out here just being a pretty face and a deep
You're not
voice.
here
Right?
bullshitting. That's pretty much the bottom
Yeah, I'm
line.
not bullshitting, right? Like this is real, right? So I met Tony at the gym, and the reason I met Tony at the gym is like, so I do old school and some or I'm gonna say unorthodox workouts, but functional workouts, right? Where a lot of these young trainers, they're doing whatever's on Instagram and they're doing whatever.
Yeah, they're doing whatever the trend is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw Tony stealing my workouts, like doing copy of my workouts, like freaking I do with my clients.
Okay.
So I went up to and Tony's a good looking guy, right? So the first time I met Tony, I walked up to him. I said, "Listen, man, just so you know, there's a quota here at the gym for silver foxes. Me and you were it." I was like, nobody else is allowed to come here and look
no more allowed.
Yeah, we're it. We're the silver foxes. Everybody else comes out. You got to help me throw them out. And by the way, you owe me $160, man. He goes, for what? I'm like, because I see you stealing my workouts. So that's how we met, right? Good. And then one day, Tony was on the treadmill, and I made a choice. Like I was dating this girl for 4 years. She was amazing. She still is amazing. We're still really good friends. But she couldn't deal with what I was doing, right? She couldn't deal with the explosion of my thing. And I kept thinking to myself, man, listen, God gave me this voice. He gave me these looks for a reason. I want to capitalize on all this so that I can create a more and better financial life for my kids, right? Like my whole objective of doing any of this, man, is I want to create a legacy for my children that they can be proud of. And I want to create financial wealth for them so that they have generational wealth. That's something that they can build off of, right? That's why I'm doing the fitness app. That's why I'm doing the cooking show and the cookbook. That's why I do the podcast. These are all things that once, I'm gone, they'll be able to keep revenue from. They'll still make money from that, and they'll still have that, and they can do whatever the hell they want with it, right? So I said to Tony was talking, me and him were talking, and he started telling me how he was going to do a podcast with his wife. Okay. He's got all this equipment and all this stuff, and I was like, and I looked at him, and it hit, right? Because I talked to some other people about doing the podcast with them, right? And I talked to this guy that was a lawyer, and I was talking about doing a podcast with him, and he wanted to do like this man show type thing with girls and trampolines. And I kept thinking, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a gimmick, right?
But you don't want to have a sexualized show. You don't want to do.
No, dude, I want to do something that's actually going to make a difference, right? That's going to be sustainable, right? And when I want it to be real. Here's the thing about me. I am too stupid to pretend to be anybody else, right? I can't keep a facade. I can't do any of that crap, right? And I'm not smart enough to do that. So I just got to be me, right?
At least you own it.
Yeah, dude, I own that shit, right? So Tony was telling me all this, and I looked at him. I said, dude, listen, I know you don't know me. We're the hole in the wall, bro, right? Like we've only ever called a couple times at the gym. We've never hung outside. At that moment, we never hung outside the gym together, ever, right? And I said, listen, I got this really great idea for a podcast. And I know if I find the right person, if the person does it with me, it's going to fucking take off. Mm-hmm. And it's going to evolve, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be something that's going to be really, really fucking big. And I just need somebody to do it with me. I just need somebody to believe in it like I do and do it with me. So then, and I told him what I thought. I thought, in my mind, I was like, the best way to get people to watch anything is if you make it about them. If you make it about them, you make it about the followers. And so I made a choice a year ago that we were going to do this show. And me and Tony came up with the name Advice Unfiltered. And in my mind, and this is what I was thinking about, and this is what I used to do this as part of the tribe too, is that we go live on everything. We go live on every single platform at once. And we make it as raw and honest as possible, right? And in my mind, I thought this is a great idea because nobody else has the balls to do that, right? Nobody else has the balls to go live because they're all afraid they're going to fuck up. They're all going to make mistakes.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of going live.
It is the beauty of it. Like I love that.
And when I did start my show in the beginning 20 years ago, I went live all the time with my shows. I was live all the time before I pre-recorded everything. I was live all day, every day.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
I loved it. I loved it live. I
love it because it's fluid, right? It's not just static, right? And then I told Tony, I said, listen, the best way to make this really authentic, because I knew where AI was coming in. I knew what was going to happen as far as the projection of everything, how everything's become really fucking fake. And one of the things that really drives me nuts about Instagram and all the social media platforms is all these motherfuckers out there pretending to be there's something they're not. You know what I mean? Oh, here's me in
Yeah.
front of a Lambo that I rented, or you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, I don't want to pretend to be anybody except me. You know, I just want to be me. And I knew that the world would be yearning for real connection and real
Yeah.
authenticity, right? As much as AI gets wherever it's going to go, and these scammers are doing whatever the hell they're doing, at the end of the day, people are always going to be drawn to something authentically real that's emotionally connected, right?
Yeah.
And so Tony, God bless him, man, he trusted me and saw my vision. And then I told him, I said, listen, I said the best way to make it authentic is if I don't know a fucking thing, right? That if I'm also a watcher, right? I'm also somebody that's shocked in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, I don't want to know anything. I was like, hey, you pick out the questions, you pick out, you know what I mean? I mean, I'll have some context of what kind of questions we're looking for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I told him, I said, if you notice, last couple of weeks we've had more substance. So I said, I want more substance, less sexual, right? We can talk about sexual
Yeah.
stuff, sprinkle it in there, but let's go for more substance, right? And Tony did that. So when you see my reaction to the questions or the stories, it's 100% me hearing it for the
Oh,
first
I know
time.
it's real.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
all
it's
real.
real.
It's all fucking real.
For those that for those of you who are listening or watching this right now that have never ever seen an episode of Advice Unfiltered, I can tell you right now, for as long as I have watched this, I already know his reactions are 100% on point truth. He doesn't
Right?
know jack shit.
It's not a fucking thing, bro. It's not a fucking
it is
thing.
not a thing. It is said on multiple occasions on the show. Tony literally will come out and say, "I don't tell him anything. There's a lot of things that he doesn't know. He doesn't know this." And even Chris himself goes like, "Yeah, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything." And I'm sitting
Not
here
a
like,
shit,
"No,
bro.
he literally doesn't know anything." So watching his reactions to a lot of these questions, especially, I love Tony the way that he asks them so nonchalantly
Yeah,
and not just. He doesn't start laughing at these questions. He's just calm,
yeah,
reading it right through, and then you catch it. It takes you a second.
right?
It
Like,
takes
wait,
you a
what?
second because then you rewind the tape back, and then you're like, "Wait, what did you just say?"
Yep.
And then he repeats it, and then it just, oh yeah, I
Well, it's funny.
literally, as I said on one of
Sometimes
the posts, I said, when Chris starts laughing the way that he laughs, we're fucking cooked. We're cooked.
I
We
love
are
that.
cooked.
Yeah, no, I love that,
I
dude.
knew on Tuesday's show when that happened, when he told you about that nomination. And
Oh,
as soon
dude.
as you fell out, I said, "Oh yeah, we're cooked. We're fucking
And
done."
I was losing it, bro. I was losing it. Because my first thought process when it said relationship advice was all my ex-girlfriends watch that going, wait, what?
Yeah,
Fucking guy. No, I love it. I love it. I think it's a great dynamic. Tony's amazing. Christian, you'll meet Christian when you come.
yeah.
Christian's dad was actually the lead singer in PM Dawn. Great guy.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Great dude, man. And then we have Ming also come in once in a while. Ming is like a huge Comic-Con guy, dude. He's got his
Yeah.
own Funko Pop and everything else. I don't know if he'll be there that day, but you'll be Christian. But yeah, no, it's a blessing, bro. And I think both of us, right? Me and you both, right? We are examples of making that choice, no matter how crazy it sounds. Like, 'cause, dude, you know how many people I sat there and I would tell them I'm going to do a podcast and it's going to be huge, it's going to be blah blah blah, and they're like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that was like the hardest lesson for Tony to learn, right? Is because I've been doing this long enough, right? I've been doing this social media thing now for 5 years. And like I said, this past year is when it really exploded, right? I went from 3,000
Right.
followers to 874 or something like that now, or something, and in a year. And what it was is I made that choice that this is going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. And like I was talking to my friend Jamie Presley, love her, great woman. I was talking to her, and she said to me once, she said, "Chris, it took her years to get to the table, right, to be able to feel like she was comfortable sitting at the table." And she said, "I don't think it's going to take you that long, Chris, to get your seat at the table." And I said to her, I said, I really do appreciate you, Jamie, and always I bring this up because I want to make a point about you and me doing this. Is that I said to her, I said, I really appreciate that. I said, I hope one day that people feel like I'm welcome at the table, but at the same point in time, I'm going to build my own fucking table. I'm going to build my own table that everybody else wants to sit at, right? And that's what you were doing, and that's what I'm doing, right? We're creating this environment that people want to come and sit and break bread, right?
Yeah.
They want to be a part of that. They want to see, they want to laugh, they want to cry, they want to be emotional about it. They want to see the authenticity of what it is to be a human, not just a
Yeah.
man, not just a woman, not just a black guy, not just a white guy, a human, right? We are
Yeah.
human beings, at the end of the day. And I think that's what you do really well. And I think that's what Tony and me do really well too, is we're really good at connecting to the human in all of us, right?
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And I wanted to call back to that comment that you had on the show too about the podcast part. You touched on it just a few moments ago. And when I heard you say it on Tuesday's show, I immediately said I went through the same thing. When people hear that you're starting a podcast, they're literally looking at you cross-eyed going, why would you want to do that? And
Yeah.
why would you want to start a podcast? There's too many. I mean, we're oversaturated with podcasts, or they really don't understand it.
No.
And I'm sitting here going like, well, we're oversaturated with everything else, with YouTube channels and apps that you want to get on, with TikTok and Instagram and all this other stuff. You're complaining about that there's an oversaturation of podcasts, but yet you want to get every app that you want to get your hands on because you want to be trendy.
So it's funny you say that, because one of the things I say to trainers, right? Because when we started working at Lifetime, there was, I think, 12 of us. There is now 42 trainers there, right? And some of the old trainers go, man, why do they keep hiring these new people? Blah 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 blah. And I hear people, and they'll go, man, there's so much competition in that field. And just like you're saying about the podcast, there's a lot of competition in this podcast, right? But here's what people forget about, man, is that even though there's millions of trainers, there's millions of podcasts, there's millions of YouTubes, there is nobody, and I mean this, there is nobody like you, Buzz, and there's nobody like me. Like, we bring something different to the table, right? We bring something that somebody else, doesn't matter how many podcasts there are, they aren't us. They can't bring what we bring to the table, right? No different than any lawyer, no different than any trainer, no different than any actor. There's something about the individual person that when you make that choice to believe in yourself, and you make that choice to stay consistent with that we bring to the table that nobody else can bring to the table. And that's that connection.
You make that connection. And I really feel, as well as with the podcast community, is very supportive. And I never, yes, we're competitive in our own right, but we're not really competitive because we, as you just said, we're different in our approaches. We're different in what we do. And I love the fact that you said we're making our own tables, because that's what we are doing. We are, when people looked at it cross-eyed in the beginning and not really understanding and not really supporting it, at least with me, that didn't stop me. If anything, that just gave me more juxtaposition to keep going and keep growing and making it the beast that it is right now. And I will say, and then this is kind of what I know Tony didn't want me to really say much of this because I know he wants to save it for his show. I'm just going to give you a little tease of this comment. Those of you that are joining on this train now that weren't really supporting me in the beginning, I see you. Don't think I forgot. That's what I will say there.
I love that, bro. That's the thing. So for Tony, it was an eye opener for him, right? Because Tony is one of the reason we all connected, right? Is because we're all real. So I couldn't thank God more, or the universe enough more, to put Tony in my life, right? Tony, what's great about Tony is he stays in his lane, I stay in mine, right? But what's great about him is that he sat there and he had all these people, right, that he considered friends, right?
Yeah.
That he would go out and he hang out with, and all these people that he considered close. And none of those fuckers watched the show. None of those people watched the show, right? Yeah. And that was a real hard wake-up call for him, right? And I dealt with that, my whole social media stuff, right? I can really tell you on my hand how many people that I personally know, that I've hung out with, broke bread with, that actually like my post, share my post, or talk about what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
And there's people that I've known my whole life that have never once ever shared my post, liked my post, said, "Yo, bro, dude, I'm really proud of what you're doing," right? And it bothered me years ago, but now I use it as fuel. I use it as it's not about recognition from people that I knew. It's about recognition from my peers and people that I care about the most, which are my kids.
100%.
Yeah, so if we can, so I have people tell me all the time, man. They're like, "Oh, you're looking for validation. You're looking for, they think I'm out there trying to get dates or whatever, man. I'm not doing this for any validation. I know who the fuck I am. The only people that I care about their opinions are my kids, You know, I care about setting that example for them, man, because and I tell you all the time, the whole reason I started the social media journey at all, like I never thought, dude, I never thought in a million years that I would have a book that would be worldwide, that I would have sold
Mhm.
shirts worldwide, that anybody would know what Team David is, right? Which is something I started for my kids. You know, they're
Yeah.
16 years apart, so I wanted them to feel like they had a family. So I started putting Team David on my stuff, you know. Then I put my lucky number on at 72 because there was another Team Davis, some Spanish guy who's like the Spanish version of me, who's like a doctor on some soap opera and soccer player. Good looking
Oh,
dude.
wow.
But
Okay.
I was putting Team David on stuff, but it was going to his page, and I was like, guys, stop
All
doing
right.
that.
Now it makes
Yeah, so
sense why that. Yep.
that's where all 72 came from, right? It's just my lucky number, and so yeah, I would have never thought in a million years that anybody would know or even give a fuck who I am, right?
Yeah.
My thought process is I was going to post these videos, right, for me. You know, all those monumental moments where I'm talking to the camera and I'm giving these motivational advice, especially back in the day, was me talking to me. You know, trying to get myself through my own mental. It was me training my mind to
Yeah.
think better. But at the same point in time, I did it because I knew, God forbid, if something happened to me, at least my kids, if they needed my advice, if they were going through something, could look at that
It's
social
right
media.
there for them to
Right,
look.
right there's fucking dad. Right
Yep.
there's dad telling me that I can get through this. Right. But because I made that choice, right? Because I made the choice to chase my dreams, and I'm going to do this no matter fucking what, hill or high water, death or life. You know, I'm gonna make this happen. All this stuff is here. You're here. Me and you are having this conversation now. You
Yeah.
know, and it's what you did too, man. I think this is what me and you and Tony are great examples of. And it's not about recognition from people we grew up with. You know, my mom's never watched the fucking show. My dad, my real father, has never watched the fucking show. You know, I sent them that news clip. My parents, I sent them that news clip of me being on the news talking about fitness and stuff. They
Yeah.
didn't even watch it until I asked them 2 weeks later. Yo, did you watch it? I'm like, oh, I didn't know what it was. And blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, if you take anything, I think the example of you, me, and Tony, and is at the end of the day, your self worth comes from nowhere else but you. You know,
I
you
agree.
you create your own self worth, man. Don't depend on somebody else to give it to you. Don't send somebody else to make you feel like you matter. You make that choice. You make that choice to make yourself matter. I think it's a great example that we all set. And it was funny because me and Tony, it was funny. We did our very first episode together, right? And at that time, me and Tony still have not hung out together outside of the gym, right? So
Okay.
we do the first episode. We do the first episode. Still have not hung outside the gym together, right? Never even spent
Didn't
more than
even
maybe
know
an
what your
hour.
chemistry would be like.
Yeah, no idea, bro. And we left that night. We left that night, and Tony goes, "That was amazing." I was like, "Yeah, dude." I was like, "That was really good, bro. I think there's something here." And he looked at me and he goes, "Man, this is the brokest we're ever gonna be, Chris." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, bro." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, man." And you know, and I love that Tony gets so excited about it. And you need to surround yourself with people like that, right? If you want to spend your time with anybody, and that's the thing too. I not to go back into it, but I think it's the
Oh
thing too.
yeah.
When you make that choice to make your worth, your value, something that you control, that you will automatically attract people to you that are on that same vibe, that are on that
Yes,
same
I
path. You know what
completely
I mean?
agree.
And then the next thing you know, you have your own community that cares. You know, like dude,
Well,
who
I
would
feel
have
like
thought, man?
that's you literally described how us three really came in together because I think honestly that's what really happened. It's just
Yeah,
the matter of positivity, and you even talked about the community. I mean, you have the ambassador program that you do with Advice Unfiltered, and how they literally have come together. And I've seen them, I've watched them. I haven't met any of them in person, but I do communicate with them now, even
yeah,
outside of the show, which is really really cool. That most of those girls, Rebecca and Lisa and a few others from the program who we just now even have the conversations just and now we support each other in ways. And I just love the fact that your show manages to bring us together and become friends with people that we probably never would have expected to become friends with. You know, we were literally thinking we were just going to be watching the show and just
yeah,
that's it. We're just going to be watching the show. But that was one of the beauties of you going live is that we get to converse with the other viewers that are watching this, and
yeah.
we get to have some fun with them aside from you guys when we watch you. And when I first met you both, when I told you the reason why that I knew who you guys were, when I walked in, you were the first two people I saw. Well, at that party, first two people I saw. And immediately I said, "Oh my God, this is the guy that I always see on my TikTok now. That's literally the first thing when I log in." And it's the algorithm, because my friend, I do have my friends here or local who watch you, who I've tagged in numerous posts whenever I would talk about you
I
guys.
love that. Thank you, bro. Appreciate
They
that.
watch you, and they were like, "Oh my God, you met those guys?" And I was going like, "You know them?" And then it came together. It's like, that's why they're in my feed. You like their posts and you comment on their stuff, and so it pops up. So once I found out that they were fans of you, and I just went, "Oh yeah, by the way."
I know you are.
I just went there and I went like, "Oh yeah, by the way, he's gonna be on my show, or I'm gonna be on their show," and they're going like, "Wait, what?" And I was going like, "Yeah, I know." I know I did that for a reason, but also
to me that's crazy, bro. Like, it's nuts, because I never started this thing, and this is God's honest truth. I never started this thing to get famous. You know what I mean? That was never my objective. I could care less if anybody knows who the fuck I am, right? I literally did this, one, because, like I said, to make my life better for me and my kids. And two, I really wanted to make a difference, bro. Like, I really wanted to make a difference and show people that they're not alone. And then and then when I do pass, that my kids will hear people going, "That guy right there helped me change my life."
he changed my life.
He
changed my life.
To me, there's no price on that. Like, that to me is fucking everything, bro.
That's
To
definitely
have my kids
priceless.
be that proud, yeah,
It's definitely priceless. And
right?
I'm definitely the same boat of doing this for my own self-worth. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I never started this for anybody else. I started it for me. I did this for me. I loved it and continue to do it because I love it. I'm not doing this for, as you also said, which I 100% agree with, I wasn't looking for validation in doing this show. You can understand it if you want. You don't have to understand it if you don't want to. But who has to understand it, or who has to love and appreciate it? Me.
Yep.
And that's all that matters to me. And because I worked my ass off to get it to where it is right now. I mean, when I started this in the beginning, it was nowhere close to where this was at this point. I was interviewing people, and that's not a knock on the people who are interviewing, by the way, because I love those guys. I will continue to root and have them on my show all the time. I am friends with those people in the soap opera community, and who are soap opera actors currently on daytime television. They are my people. They're my homies, and they will always have a home here. But it never really grew until I was able to focus more on it when I had the opportunity to do that. When I had that job that I talked about earlier, I did not have the opportunity to do that. Once I got out of that, and that's another thing, I feel like God really wanted me out of that job.
Yeah,
God wanted me out of that job so bad that he had to get them to lay me off, because he knew I was struggling. He knew I wasn't happy. He knew that this boss wanted to get me out of there. And I know, and in my heart of hearts, I know that was God basically telling me, we got to get you out of here. And the only way to do that, because you're not going to quit, I'm going to make them fire you.
I'm going to kick you in the ass and get you moving.
He pretty much kicked me in the ass and got me moving. Is right. And as soon as it happened, I don't know what it was. Like the thing with the peer for you, as soon as I got out of there, and the 2 weeks that I was off, pretty much because I was still getting paid before I started my new gig, as soon as I got out of there and I really did some reflection, I went to one of my favorite restaurants in Jersey, and I immediately was just like, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? And then as soon as I reassessed, I immediately put what was important to me up here and what was not down here. And the podcast was really at the top of the list. If not number one, it was number two. And as soon as I did that, it immediately changed my whole life perspective.
Right. You make that choice. You jump, right? You make that choice, dude. I think that's what a lot of people are afraid to do, right? There's going back to the whole mental health thing. It's people look at people like you and me, and they don't see how long or how hard or all the work that took to get here, right? They don't understand that, we had to scratch and crawl and fight, but the moment, as much work as it possibly was to get to the point where you and me are at and Tony's at in this entertainment field, it was such a benefit every time, right? Like we benefited from it every time. Like it
Yeah,
was
we did.
as much as it was hard work, it was also something that just it fit like a puzzle piece, right? Like it just felt like this is it. This everything else doesn't matter. This is it. This is what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And even now with the podcast, like it evolves, right? Like so
Correct.
I from day one I told Tony, I was like, I want to take this podcast on the road. I want to do live Q&As. I want to have an audience in front of us, and I want to talk to people one on one and in front of everybody, and
There's
I want
so many opportunities for you to get involved in that, which
to
we
yeah,
definitely have
like
to talk offline about that because there's so much stuff that I'm starting to get involved with. If you haven't looked at it, look at On Air Fest. That's like
okay.
that's a podcast kind of. I don't want to call it a podcast con, but I will say a podcast summit. I will say it that way
That
because
sounds
I
like
feel
fun.
I no, it is because I was actually supposed to cover it this year in New York. I couldn't get the time off because they gave me my tickets at last minute.
I
So
got
I
you.
didn't I wasn't able to basically work my schedule around in order to do it. But I did tell them next year I will do it for them.
Yeah,
So
let me know. I'll go.
it's literally when you look at it, they have guest speakers, they'll do like live Q&As, they'll do like a live taping of a podcast there as well. It's so much fun. I watch the videos back, and then they have their version of the Oscars of their
Yeah,
podcast awards called the Ambies, and it's definitely something you also should look
yeah. I'll
into.
go
I
next
know
year. Let me know the time.
I
I'll
looked
definitely go
into it
next
as
year.
well with the Podcast Academy. They're very supportive, and it's definitely something you guys should shoot for too, because
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude.
you guys really would totally take something from that. And it's just I think for me, and that also stems into when I said I never really looked and worked harder into this when what happened years ago. As soon
Yeah,
as I started getting more and more opportunities my way, I then started looking at what else can I do with this? Like, what else can I do to put myself out there? And then you're seeing they have these academy summits, like the one at On Air Fest. They're going to have another one in New York in September, and then they were supposed to have one in Austin, Texas. I was supposed to be at, but because of a previous engagement, I'm not able to attend it. But also, there's a lot of things that's rooted underneath the surface that we don't really catch, and I'm now starting to see it, and it's just it's very interesting how much more you can get involved and how much you
yeah,
can do more with your show exactly the way that you want to do it.
yeah.
And it's just you just got to put yourself out there like you have been doing, and I can see it happening for you, especially at these events, because they're looking for that. They're looking for talent. They're looking for
Well,
people.
that's yeah.
So
I told Tony. I told Tony. I said to him. I was like, we're no longer really a podcast. We're a show.
you're a
Yeah,
show.
yeah, we're a show about a podcast is what we are. That's what it comes down to,
Yeah.
right? But I'm grateful for it all. Tony's an amazing. I couldn't ask for a better partner in this, man. Like he's so good at what he does. Um, um, but it goes back to making that choice, right? Like I made that choice a year ago, and then I'm going to do this no matter high hell or high water. And the universe lines it up. God lines it up for you when you make that choice, just like it did for you.
It did
Yeah,
for me, and I
yeah,
and I can't really say thank you enough for that, because if it wasn't for that kick in the pants from that issue, I probably wouldn't be sitting here and talking to you. I wouldn't be.
right.
I'll even say this. I probably never would have interviewed Harrison fucking Ford if
How
it
fucking
wasn't
cool is
for
that,
that.
bro? How cool is that?
If it wasn't for that moment in time. I really do believe that, because I
Dude, I
probably
saw that
never would have
clip
put
and I was
myself out there
cheering
the
you
way I
on,
have.
bro. I saw that clip and I was like, "You fucking go, bro!"
Dude,
That's amazing.
I I got so many messages when that came out.
Yeah, dude,
And
that was cool
I
as
got
shit,
so
bro.
many messages when that video was posted, as well as the picture. And immediately, and there was one in particular, they were like, "You did what?" And I
Yeah,
said, "Yeah, that was a thing." And
yeah, that was the thing.
that wasn't supposed to happen. I will be
Yeah,
honest. I was, and by that I mean not me being there. I didn't think I was going to interview him, period.
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
so when it happened was when I got there, I landed. I literally had an hour to get to the red carpet before they shut the doors. And I landed in LAX at rush hour. So
Wow.
I got there, and if any of you haven't been to LAX recently, they don't have the Ubers coming to you when you get out of the gate. You have to get a shuttle to go to this other part to get yourself an Uber. And then you order the Ubers from this other spot. So you got to take a
Wow.
shuttle to go to this LA exit, basically is what it's called, to where
Mhm.
you can get a cab and Ubers and lifts. So I did that, and I just immediately was going like, oh my God, am I going to get here in time? So I get there, I order the Uber, I get in the car, and I literally tell the driver, I don't care what you got to do. If you got to go back roads, I don't care if you don't have to follow this map. I need you to get me here at this place by 7.
Yeah.
And he literally flat out said, I know some back ways. I'll get you there. So he
Fuck
did.
yeah, bro. Fuck
So
yeah,
he
dude.
did.
Fuck
So
yeah.
I get there. I had 3 minutes left to spare. I get out the car, and as soon as I get there, they're like, go right through the doors. And they said, yep, you're here. So they got me my spot, did it. He and Harrison was coming from the Game Awards, which was the same night. He gets there, and I see his publicist, and the other outlet that I was standing next to on my right, she literally looks at me and goes, do you think we're going to get to talk to him? Do you think he's going to walk down to us? Because we were the last in the line.
Yeah.
And we were like, I hope so. I'm crossing fingers. And then he gets to me. I'm standing next to people, and he's talking to people. And I'm next. And I'm literally sitting there in my head going, don't you dare fucking take him away from me. Don't you dare take
Right.
him away from me. And
Right.
I'm next. Don't you do that. So I did something that I probably pat myself on the back for the most, is that I went straight to his publicist and I said, if you can get him for at least 2 questions with me, I'll make him quick. And we just started talking about shrinking and how much we love his character on there, working opposite of Wendy Malick, who's also on the show. And we just struck up the conversation, and I think that was it. Because as soon as he got done with people, she brought him right over to me.
That's fucking awesome, dude. See that's this. How amazing is that, right? So jumping into that opportunity, man. Like that right there is prime example of you taking control of your path.
Yep.
If you would have took that initiative, that probably wouldn't happen. But you
I don't
took
think
the
it would have
initiative.
happened. I
Yeah,
really
you took
don't.
the initiative, dude. That's like me. So I'm in a J-Lo movie, right? And I'm only an extra. I don't have no lines or whatever else. And I'm not even sure if you're going to even see me in it. They might cut me out. Freaking but um, um, but I got
Back your
there.
life.
There was 462 extras there, bro. Right? And I get there, and my whole thought process, I wasn't even going to go because they weren't paying me a lot of money to do it, right? Because I'm just an extra. But then I was like, you know what? Freaking, I want Robert Zemeckis was directing, and I was like, I want to be
Oh
Robert Zemeckis.
yeah.
Yes, I was like, I want to meet
Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis, Mister Fucking done all the fucking movies I liked when I was growing up, right? I
Yep.
was like, I want to meet
That's a big
him.
one.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I want to meet him, right? And then I found out the guy from Game of Thrones was in it. The guy who played Lannister, freaking, I forget his name. Shoot, you know what I'm talking about? The guy who played
Oh my God. And I just said it in my head. I completely forgot it.
Nicholas.
I can't say his name, but
Yeah, Nicholas
he's on
something.
a new show now. But yes, I know exactly who you're
Yes.
talking about.
So he was playing J. Lo's husband in the movie. So, like, you know what? I'm going to go. And my only objective of going to this is I want to let everybody know who the fuck I am. Like, I want to make sure everybody knows who Christopher David is, right?
Yeah.
So I go there. It's raining, dude. I get there. Freaking, we had to park far away. We're staying outside in the rain, and freaking, and I meet a couple people while I'm standing in the rain and got an umbrella. And we go inside, and there's 456 people, dude. There's 50 hairstylists. There's 50 makeup artists, dude. There's freaking, and I've never seen anything like it. I've never been on a big production like that before, right? So they go get me suited up and all this stuff, and I go to makeup, and they go, we don't need makeup. Go over to hair. So I go over to hair. And like and the lines like this, like they're the where everybody's like down this long out, it's in this big banquet hall, and I'm standing in the middle of the line that's in the middle of the whole room, right? And the lady comes along, and she goes, you guys come with me, and they take this whole group down to the other side, and I'm still standing there. I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to go with them, so I'm still standing there, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, right? So then she walks by me like 3 times. The third time she walks by me, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Am I supposed to go down there? Am I supposed to go here? And as I say that, as I'm talking, 2 of the hairstylists that are standing there turn around and they go, oh my fucking God. They're like, I know who you are. And I'm like, me? And she's like, yeah, I know who you are. And the other girl goes, oh my God, I know who you are too. And the lady looks at me and she goes, She's holding her pen and paper. She goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm 268. That's who I am." I was like, "I don't think they know who I am. I'm number 268." And the lady goes, "You have two sons." And I look back at the lady and I'm like, "All right, they might know who I am." I was like, freaking out.
You're like, I might know. Yeah.
They might know who I am. So I freak out. The lady sits me down in her chair, does my hair. She's all excited. She takes a picture with me. And then they call the first group back into the back, right, to go on set. So I'm in the second group. So they call a second group to come back. I meet this guy, Anthony. This guy, Anthony, saw everything going on. And he comes up and he goes, "Dude, who are you?" He goes, "I saw everybody freaking out about you." I was like, I'm nobody, bro. I'm 268. He goes, "No, really, who are you?" I was like, I have a social media following. He's like, "For doing what?" I'm like, "For saying hi and good morning." He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I go, that's it, bro.
That's
I say hi and I say good morning. And I showed the video and he goes, "Oh, I get it now, right?" So they call us back, and as we get back, they cut us off right in front of him. They go, "All right, we don't need anybody else on set. You guys go back to the holding room, right?"
Okay.
I'm like, "Fuck, bro." I'm like, "Fucking." I was like, "Who knows? We'll get on set now." You know what I mean? And Anthony, I'm looking at Anthony. I'm like, "You know what, dude? We're in this beautiful building, this beautiful, gorgeous building, marble steps, gold banisters." I was like, "Why don't we go take some pictures for the gram, bro? We're wearing tuxedos, so we're walking around the building taking pictures of each other, right?" So we're taking pictures of each other, fucking taking pictures for the gram. And he goes, "You want to try to get on set?" I go, "Yeah." I was like, "Freaking, let's see if we can get on set." I'm like, "What else are we gonna do, bro?" I'm like, thinking, "What? The worst case scenario, they send me home and I don't get my $250. You know what I mean?" So I'm like, "Fuck it." So freaking, we go up and there's this big black security guard lady and black women love me, right? So and I love them too. So freaking, so she looks at me, she starts talking to me, and I start talking about my bouncing experience. And freaking, I'm like, "Yeah, I used to bounce too," and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody inside on the set goes, "Yo, I think I follow you on Instagram." So I walk past her, right?
Yeah.
And freaking, I start talking to the guy. Now I'm on set, right? I'm in the room waiting to be put on set, right? Talking to these other actors and stuff, right?
Right.
And we're all talking. And I bring Anthony in with me. So the next thing you know, the guy comes back and goes, "Yo," and he grabs Anthony, he goes, "You, me, come on set." And he takes Anthony on set. So I'm still standing talking. And then next thing you know, they come and grab me. They go, "Yeah, we want to bring you on set." And they sent me this back table. So like, if you visualize this, the stage is left of me, right? Where Nicholas is doing his whole speech to J-Lo. The whole scene is we're in a gala, right? It's an awards gala for some type of for MS or some kind of disease that they're helping finding the cure for, right? So the whole scenario is that those two are dating, they're married, and she catches her assist. She knows her assistant is bagging him, right? So they're gonna have this whole explosive scene together, right? So I'm actually sitting in the back, and I'm like, and I can see everybody, and then J-Lo comes in, right? And J-Lo sits down literally 4 tables from me, but literally diagonal from me, bro, like diagonal, right? And I'm messaging Freeman at the time, and I'm like, "Yo, man," I was like, "Freaking, hey, I'm on set." I'm like, "No fucking way." I'm like, "I'm actually here." Like, I'm actually seeing J-Lo. She's like 20 feet from me. And Nick's over there. And I see freaking Robert Zemeckis over there. And I'm just having fun, bro. I'm just like, this is fucking, I don't care that I'm not in the scene or nothing. And then me and J-Lo make eye contact. Like, she sees me. And I wave, and she waves back. And then about 15 minutes later, the guy comes over and goes, "Listen, this is what we're going to have you do. There's going to be a scene where everybody gets up and like kind of walks around. We want you to walk right past them. And when they have an argument, you're going to stop and turn around and go, and look surprised, right?" I'm like, "No fucking way." I'm like, "Here we go."
So basically, you're playing yourself. That's great.
Yeah, I was like, "No fucking way." So I got to walk past. I met J-Lo. I met Nick. And then I waited, dude. I waited for freaking, so they called lunch.
Yeah.
And I waited, and I bent down like I was tying my shoe for everybody to kind of leave. And then I walked up to Robert Zemeckis. I was like, "Hey, man, I just want to tell you, I love your work. I'm a big fan. My name's Chris David, blah, blah, blah." And I bring up that story to go back to you taking that opportunity with Harrison Ford, that literally, if it wouldn't have been for me saying, "Hey, let's shoot stuff for the grant," and Anthony going, "Yo, man, you want to get on set?" I would have. Everybody else that was still in that waiting room never got on set ever. Right? They sat there for 2 days, didn't even get on set. Right? And it was funny because Freema said to me, she goes, "Yo, Chris, usually they don't put people like you in the behind the scene thing, right? They usually put people that the camera doesn't attract to." She goes, "So somebody must have said something." I'm like, "Well, the only person that could have said anything was J-Lo." I was like, "Because she's the only one that really saw me." I was like, nobody else really saw me. But by the second day of filming, No lie, dude. I swear to God, because I'm walking through and everybody's saying to me, like, dude, just so you know, everybody's talking about you. Everybody, like, you're the star of this thing. Everybody's talking about you. And the only reason I bring any of this up is because it goes back to what you were saying about how you took that opportunity. And
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people fail, right? They're afraid to put themselves out there, and they're afraid to they get a feel like you had a thought in your head, right? You had that little thing in your head and said, "Yo, Buzz, go talk to that publicist. If you
Yep.
talk to that publicist, you're gonna be able to talk to Harrison Ford." And I guarantee you had a little bit of anxiety, a little bit like, like,
I
I don't
did.
know, should
Oh,
I
I
do
did.
this?
For sure.
Right? But you listened, right? You listened. And just to bring it all back around the circle, right, about mental health. We usually, and this is one of my points about my book, and one of the things I truly, truly believe in, right, is we usually have two voices in our head. Some of us have more. You usually have two, right? And we have our spirit mind, your conscience, your that voice, or we have that ego mind, right? And
Yeah.
99% of us listen to that ego mind, right? That ego mind keeps us in our comfort zone, right? When we our spirit mind, like say for instance, like you said, like you had that instant that voice in your head say, Buzz, go talk to that publicist.
Yep.
If you wouldn't have listened to that spirit inside of you, the things wouldn't have happened. If I wouldn't have listened to that spirit inside of me and said, "Hey, go do this," or even with our podcast, who gives a fuck about you or me? And before we became anybody, right? Nobody knew who the fuck we were. But because we listen to that inner voice, we listen to that spirit that's inside of all of us, that voice, and we didn't listen to that ego mind that likes to keep us conformed. Amazing things happens in our lives. Go back to that story about me meeting that girl in that pier. I had an inner voice that told me to go listen to it. And I think that's the basis of my book, right? My basis of my book is, if you listen, is I didn't have a game plan. I
Hmm.
didn't have a direction. I didn't have a map. I listened to that inner voice, that spirit inside of all of us. And I think, bring everything full circle. I think that should be the message about the mental health is that sometimes, most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, being that in that uncomfortable state, that idea that this is crazy. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is the idea that we should be following the most, is the feeling that we should be understanding the most. I think if we let go of the ego mind, the quick fix, the 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 instant gratification, and we start listening more to that inner spirit that sounds a little crazy. It sounds a little nuts. Like, why would I
Yeah.
drive 2.5 hours to go to some pier in New Jersey? Well, I did that, and I met an amazing woman that needed to talk to me. Why would you be hit that red carpet at the exact moment you did, and then have that inner thought saying, I should talk to this publicist, right? What are the
Yeah.
odds that me out of 462 people would meet Anthony, and Anthony go, hey, man, you want to try to get on set?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I
Yeah.
think it goes back to that if you get anything from anything that we and you talk about, I think trusting that inner spirit, no matter how crazy it sounds, trusting it, that amazing things do happen in your life when you believe in you, and you don't succumb to the norm, the ego of comfortability. You know?
I want to point out another word that you even said too, because that also ties into what you and I and Tony do now with our podcast, but even outside of that, just with life itself, you got to listen to people. And I
Yeah.
think, and that's a big thing for us as hosts of our own shows, that we got to listen to those that we are talking to and with, because as you pointed out, we're not our authentic selves if we're not paying attention, if we're not listening. We can even use this as far as going back to the mental illness topic of it. We talk about how there's so much stigma around it. No one wants to listen to us when we talk about we are suffering from mental illness. And I'm using the royal we in that one,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, no one really listens to when somebody says they're going through it majority of the time, I feel like. And when that happens, something happens. And then you're living with that regret because you didn't listen to them. And then
Yeah.
because they reached out and you didn't want to hear it. And that's one of the things I always want to tell people. If there is something that is going on with somebody that you know and you care about, and they are going through something, they are telling you, I need you to listen to them, I need you to hear them, I don't want you to dismiss them, because if you do, that's going to make them feel that, as we even pointed out before, nobody really cares about me, or if that was the one person who I thought would have cared about me the most really doesn't give a shit. Then what's that say to them in their mind? The other part of it too is not just even listening to them, it's also them listening to themselves,
Yeah.
and I think that's also a big thing. When you touched on that, is just listening to yourselves and listening to that voice. And I know sometimes it's not always the good one that'll win out in most of those cases. But
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know what it was, and it wasn't probably even something that it was even in your head. But when you talked about that story where you were going to beat up the dad, but that friend of yours called you right out of the blue and just stopped you from doing that because she called you,
Yeah.
and it just immediately just went the opposite direction, and you just
Yeah.
basically said, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm not going to do something to
Yeah,
leave
no,
my
dude,
kids.
I was going to say that as you were talking. I was thinking about that. When you have an idea, when somebody pops up into your head, and you think you should call them, call them. That's we are seriously all connected, right? Perfect example of this, right? And it's funny you
Yeah.
say all this because it actually ties it out. So I was training my client Alfonso yesterday, right?
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer that even though we are individualities, we're individual people, that we are also susceptible to being in a hive mind, right?
Yeah.
So if we're all watching the same program, we're all going to have this view, right? If we're all
Mhm.
watching destruction stuff, we're all going to feel like the world's going to end, right? And so yesterday at the gym, I noticed everybody's wearing this purple maroon. It's an odd
Okay.
color. It's odd color, right? Not everybody wears purple maroon. It's an odd color, right? And yesterday there was 12 people at the gym wearing full outfits of purple maroon. And my first
Okay.
thought process was, what were they watching? What were they doing that at that moment they all decided today to wear that color? Now today I was at the gym, not one person was wearing that color. Not one person was wearing that color at all, right? And it's not the
Okay.
only time I've noticed this, right? And I think that a lot of people and maybe wouldn't ask them. I wouldn't ask them. What they were doing, right? Freaking what they were watching, what they were um, 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 participating in that made them feel like
Mhm.
they had to wear that color, right? So if anything, I think people need to be aware of what they're watching, what they're putting in. We are what we eat,
Yeah.
right? So we are what we listen to and what we talk about and what we focus on, right? And I think it's one of the reasons. Like the
Correct.
other day, I was talking about. Somebody asked me. They said, I said I was stressed out and I had a lot of stuff going on, and they said, well, we love to hear about. If you want to talk about it, I'm here. And I said,
Mhm.
well, here's the thing. I said, I don't like to talk about things that stress me out because that breathes life into that, right? I'd really rather focus on the solutions that make things better, right? And
Yeah.
and all my videos and everything that I've done, even now, I am 10 years clean and sober, right? 10 years into my mental health awareness, right?
Yeah.
I still fight depression. I still fight anxiety. I still fight those things. Those are things that will never typically ever
That's
go
not going to
away.
go away.
It's not going to go away. But I've created tools to combat those things, right? Even those videos I do in the morning, like this morning, right? I did that video where I said I was trying to think of something I would say that'd be different that would help motivate people, right? And
Yeah. I did watch that this morning. Yeah.
when I make that comment, I believe in me. That's me talking to me. And I think that's
Hmm.
why it comes off so real, right? Because I'm really being genuinely honest about it. But so for people to combat their mental health, and this I think is what my point was, to combat their mental health, they have to literally create habits that identify those situations. Like I can tell you when
Yeah.
I'm about to be depressed, right? I can tell you what triggers me to be in that mode, right? Where that imposter syndrome or that I'm not good enough syndrome,
Yep.
And I see those things, and the moment those things start coming at me, I let myself feel them. I don't say don't feel it. I let myself feel it,
Yeah.
but then I start doing the things that make my life better, right? That to combat those things, right? And I think that's when people make a mistake when it comes to mental health, is they think it's a quick fix, right? They think that if I go to listen to Tony Robinson's and I go to this one meeting but it's not. It's work, and it's
No, it's work.
it's work, and no different than training your body, training your mind to
Yeah.
have those combative. I call it mind kung fu. Training your mind to
Yeah.
fight those negative thoughts, right? To understand that life doesn't have to be perfect, right? That you are supposed to be perfectly flawed, and that life
Yeah.
is a classroom. It literally is. I think the biggest mistake we all make, man, is that we think because we graduate college or we got this perfect job that all of a sudden we fucking know it all. We know it all, and this
Yeah.
is what it is, and that's not at all the case,
That's
man.
not
Because
true.
no, that's when life throws you a fucking curveball, and you're like, "Oh wait, I didn't know that."
Yeah. That's literally accurate. And I mean, I'm sitting here. We talked about evolving even with our shows. I'm evolving as a person, so it's not. It's the same thing. We're all learning. We're all growing each day. If we weren't, we're not living our life right. Is how I feel about that. If we're not learning new things, we're not living our life right. So I completely 100% agree with that. It's especially with the work your mind part, because for me, it's always. I said this on my Instagram when I talked about it. I said the one thing that is a constant when I know I go to that dark place. Music. It's always music for me. There's always music for me. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's and you're thinking like, why would you listen to hard rock or like this and like, because it gets me
hype.
It gets me hype. My go-to song or my go-to genre?
Yeah, like whatever. Forget like what do you go to?
Oh, that's a good one. I've been on a Papa Roach kick lately.
I love that.
I've been on a Papa Roach kick lately. And there was a one day I literally sat, I never did it before. And it was one day I had that moment and I just listened to the whole Nevermind album from Nirvana for the very first time. I never listened to the whole thing. And I actually listened to the whole thing. And I said, damn, that was pretty fucking badass. Obviously, Smells Like Teen Spirit is a thing. And I've always listened to Lithium and Come As You Are was the other one. Yeah, Come As You Are. So those are the three main ones. But then when I really listened to the whole album, and I just was like, wow, this was a masterpiece in itself.
No, it's a great album. Isn't it funny how like Nirvana or like Linkin Park or, all those great artists, right? And so I think it's where again it comes down to authenticity, right? And listen, right? All this stuff, all that stuff, those artists, those famous people like that, right? That aren't with us anymore. God bless their souls. They were all cries for help. You listen to that Linkin Park album,
Chester.
Yeah. You listen to that Linkin Park album, and now we know. And you listen to it now.
I said the same thing about that album. And when he passed, when he committed suicide.
Yeah.
I literally said there was a song. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Breaking the Habit. I think it was Breaking the Habit. But I know I said, call the song out. And immediately I went, when you listen to the lyrics now I get it.
That's a whole different meaning. That's a whole different meaning, man. That's a whole different meaning, dude. And then, so that, I think that's, I think when it comes down to mental health, it's like I said, it's creating those habits, doing the work. Is it easy? No. Is it fucking worth it? 100%, bro. 100%, dude. And and it goes back to like, I would have never thought in a million years, Buzz, in a million years, bro, that anybody would know who the fuck I am, let alone famous people would know who the hell I am, right? And I think that would know what the hell I'm doing, right? I mean, the coolest one that reached out to me right now is the Tootie from Facts of Life, freaking Kimberly. She reached out to me and loved my stuff. Yeah, dude. Freaking, she reached out to me and said she loved my stuff, man, which I'm very honored. Like, I would have never thought in a million years they would know who this fucking white guy is from freaking Ole, Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? And but making that choice, man, creating those habits, it's a vibration, it's a vibe, it's a thing that transcends who you are as a person. And I think me and you and Tony are all great examples of overcoming strife and stuff. That when we make the choice to live, and take and do the hard work, it pays off. It pays off at the end of the day, man. It really does, man.
I really appreciate the fact that you took what happened in your life and you turned it into a positive, to a point where you're giving back to everybody who follows you, not just on the socials but also on the show. So the fact that you do that on a consistent basis almost every day, everybody watches your videos. You say the good mornings, but there's always a message after the good mornings too. It's, for me, it's one of the things that I always look forward to, because I'm just sitting there going like, this guy's been through it. He's lived it. He's continued to live it. And he's pushing out the positivity to everybody else. And we need that. And I really appreciate that you are doing that and you continue to do that. That's not,
thank you.
It's something that people would not look at. If other people were kind of doing the same thing that you were doing, they probably wouldn't keep up with it the way that you are. They probably would stop right after maybe like the 5th video or something.
Yeah.
You're doing it. You continue to. I feel like those people are only doing it for clout. And as you pointed out, you're not doing it for validation. I feel like others would do that for validation. You're doing it because you love people. You love people, and I really appreciate that.
100%.
And that's
That's 100%, dude. I would have never thought in a million years, man, that me saying good morning would. Who would have thought? Like, let's think about it, Buzz. Like, who would have thought in a million years, right? That just a simple gesture, a
yeah.
good morning, and I hope you have an amazing day, and just telling people you believe in them
Because
would
there's probably people out there that
transcend.
don't get that. They don't
Yeah,
get
well, that just shows you, right, that it's that easy, right? That it would transcend not just here, but around the world, bro. Like, who would have
that.
thought people in Japan, people in
Isn't that
Iran, people
crazy?
in
Seeing that
Israel.
video,
Yeah, dude. Like, who would have thought in a million years, man, that me saying good morning and I believe in people would transcend not just nationalities or colors but transcend into people's hearts. Like, who would have thought that, dude? I would have never thought in a million years that me doing that would be such an impact. And that week I was sick. You know how many people messaged me going, "Yo, man, where's my good morning? Where's my
yeah,
where's my good morning video?" Like, I look forward to that every day. Like, that I've become a
sick.
constant in people's lives. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, right? Like, I think about that. I'm like, it's nuts to think that something so simple, but it shows you, right, that you don't have to be larger than life. You
Yeah,
just have to be real. And you just have to be authentically you, right? And again, I can't say this enough, man. I know I say it all the time, but the moment you make that choice, right, to sit in silence and get to know you and get to understand who you are and understand that you being on this planet is one in a trillion, bro, that me and you are having this experience right now
yeah,
is a gift. It's a straight up gift. It's not a punishment. It's not, you're not here to be punished. You were
right.
here as a gift. It's a gift to be alive, man. And I think about all this stuff, like, me being homeless, living out of my car, eating saltines off the floor that were stale because I had no money. Freaking, having no family, dude. Like, I had nobody. I had nobody. The only person that knew where I was in that whole trip was my oldest son. And I had nobody, dude. I was alone. You think about that stuff as you're going through, and you think this fucking sucks. Like, this
Yeah,
sucks. It was terrible, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I mean, most people really think it was like a vacation or something, but it wasn't. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life and losing my family that I thought I had with my ex-wife, having to fight for my son twice, having to freaking all that stuff that I went through. People thinking that I was a drug addict, that I was a loser, that I never amount to nothing, right? Like, if
yeah.
you ask my grandmother before she passed, I wasn't going to be shit. If you get, I was going to be another fucking loser like my uncle Timmy was, right? That I wouldn't amount to anything. Like, nobody ever thought that I would ever change and become the person I am today. But I would never change anything I went through, bro. It's crazy to say, but I wouldn't,
No,
I wouldn't, I
that's not
wouldn't, I
crazy at
wouldn't
all
change a
because I
thing.
agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly because I was bullied growing up and in school, and I was very fortunate I had people that stuck up for me, but it was also a learning experience for me. Looking back on it, I would never change what happened at that time.
No, no, I wouldn't change a thing,
I
man.
wouldn't change a thing because if
No,
anything, it made me the person who I am right now,
yeah,
and that is one of the reasons why I look back at that and yes, that was a very difficult time in my life, and I had to learn how to grow up from that. I had to learn how to do a lot of things, even with the jobs that I've had. I had to learn how to grow. I would not change any of that because it molded me into being who I am right now, and it made me more confident. It made me more. It made me more. I was able to see people in the way that they needed to be seen. Let me say it that way, because
I love that. I
at
actually
one
love that you
point,
said that. I
because
love
at
that.
one point, because at one point, I took people at face value,
Mhm.
and now I really look at them and I go, okay, this is what I missed before,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah,
could really see like, no, you're actually a piece of shit, or you're
yeah.
actually really genuine now. And it's one of the things one of my good friends always tells me now is that I have really good intuition about people, and I never really thought anything about it until I started doing things that people started catching, go like, "You really don't like that person, do you?" And then I'm like, "No,"
Uh,
but then it's like, "But what is it about them that you don't like?" And then I tell them, and then they're like, "That's why I don't like them." I said, "I didn't
uh,
realize I do that," and then it now sticks with me, and
no,
it's
I think that's one of the things that it keeps me humble, right? I think most people think with everything that's happened last year that my ego would be huge, right? That I would have this big head, but I don't.
yes,
The
yes,
only The only thing that when I look at people, I see you. Like when I see you, Buzz, I see you, but I see me in you,
Hmm.
right? Like, you are me. I am you. We are, the same person. We we
We're
we
the
just
same
have different.
person.
Yeah, we just have
Yeah.
different. We had different teachers in our life. That's all. We just had
Yeah.
different teams. We all learned. And I'm a firm believer in this. We all learned the same life lessons. All of us at different times
You
and by
said that.
different
Yeah.
teachers. You know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer in that. Like, that's why again, the title of my book, it was never just about me, the journey to save my life, because my story is your story.
Yeah.
It is. It still relates to that. And I think this is where a lot of people mess up in life right now. Right? Is that they want to be heard. Right? They want to have an opinion. They want their opinion to be
Yeah.
heard. Right? But they don't want to listen to anybody else's opinion or anybody else's
Yes, that's true.
viewpoint. Right? And I'm really good at that. Like I talk about on the show. Like I have this friend of mine, Evan. We have differences in politics and political views, right? But we're able to talk about it. Like we're able to talk
Yeah.
about it, and not feel like I have to shut him out. Like I have to hate him because he has a different view than I do, right? And I think that's where when we go all the way back full circle to where we were talking about our friends. Where my boy
Yeah.
Bobby can go look at me and call me Kevin. You know what I mean? Like freaking,
Right.
like it goes
Right.
back to that it doesn't have to be so personal. It doesn't have to be so offended by somebody not agreeing with you. I think that's great. I think it's one of the part of the things that we're missing in America. That was one of the things that I was raised on, is that your difference is what makes America great. The fact
Absolutely
that
it is.
we don't think the same, the fact that we do eat different foods, the fact is that what is America supposed to be? It's supposed to be a melting pot of ideas and thoughts and ethnicity and all those things. We're supposed to learn from each other, grow from it, and find that common ground, right? And I think right now people are so quick to label, fucking throw labels around like they're fucking psychiatrists,
Yeah.
and they're so quick to put you in a box, and put you in a category where you're not. We're 98% water, right? We're 98% water.
Yes.
So the fact that we're 98% water means we flow. We're forever fluid. We are forever growing and changing and evolving. The only
Absolutely.
time that it matters that water dies is when it becomes stagnant. When we become stagnant water, we put ourselves in that box. We put ourselves in that conform thing where, oh, I know it all, and this is what I'm doing, right? And this is
Hmm.
this is the way this is the way life is, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's forever fluid. It's forever growing and evolving. And I think your experience, my experience, and even Tony's experience is that we're all good examples of that, right? That we've been through the shit, and we understand more shit's going to happen. Life's
Yes.
not going to be perfect, but we look forward to that, right? We look forward to that because that gives us an opportunity to grow and learn more, right? So it's changing that perspective, right? Like, yeah, things happen, things are shit, trauma happens, and there's bad people out there, 100%.
Yeah.
But how we respond to it is always 100% our responsibility. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you know?
You know, that's a perfect way to end this because what I was going to say to that is that we're all human. We're all people.
Uh,
We make mistakes. We're not perfect. But I love the fact that you even said yourself that we may not think the same. We don't need to think the same, but that makes us
yeah,
unique. That makes living in this world the best place, living in the states best place because we don't
it
think the
makes you
same.
beautiful. It
It
makes you
does
beautiful,
make us
buzz.
beautiful. It makes us beautiful. It makes you beautiful.
Yeah,
It makes everybody beautiful in their own way.
yeah,
And you said something earlier, which was I was laughing in my head a little bit because it's literally on the back of my shirt, and it is kind of my slogan that I use for the show. And I want to shout out to Gemma Brown, who is the general manager of the Signal Awards as well, because she said it first, and I kind of took it and ran with it. And now I use it because it makes so much sense. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most impactful voice in the room.
I love that.
And that's what
I
you're
love
doing.
that.
And
I
that's
love
what you're
that.
doing.
I
And that's
love that,
literally what you
dude. Shout out
said.
to her. I love that. I love that.
He
I
did.
actually know.
I think I subconsciously got it, like started saying it because she put out a video when submissions opened for this past year, and
Mhm.
she was getting a ton of questions where they were going like, I don't have a big following on this podcast, should I still submit? And she said yes. And you know why you should
Yeah.
submit? And it's because she literally said that exact line. And as soon as I must have heard it, it flew right into my veins because honestly, she is absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
true. And
It is true, man.
you are proving that. You are living
Yeah.
proof of that. I could even say I'm living proof of that.
No, you are
Tony
100%.
could
You are,
say he's
bro.
living proof of that. And it's
100%.
and it's just it resonated with me so much because I never at one point in my life when I was doing the show that my voice mattered to people. I never thought it did matter to people.
Yeah.
Now I'm learning that it does matter to people.
It does.
And
Yeah.
they have been paying attention, and they are looking forward to everything that I do. They are seeing what I'm doing, and they're wanting to hear what I have to say. And now it grew from not just those who are listening, but those who have been on the show. And that to me has been the biggest gift during this entire journey. So you talk about your journey and what the gifts that came from you for this. This is another one of those gifts that I got from this, is that I didn't realize that people from within are also listening and they're commenting.
Yeah.
Because you talked about that with Tootie, with Kim Fields, that she was looking at your stuff. Tiffany Haddish had heard your stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I'm getting comments now, which I never in my lifetime ever gotten, where people who I've interviewed told me that my interviews with them in junkets, they were their favorites and they wanted to do longer interviews with me after those. That hit different. I'm going to admit that hit different. So for me to now experience that and now really understanding it, it took on a whole new perspective in this.
No, dude, Buzz, I will tell you, Buzz, I've watched you do your interviews, and not only are you articulate when you talk to people, but and you're engaged, and you're engaged, but you're fucking so knowledgeable about what they do. Like it's you can tell it's not just a job for you, it's a passion for you, and that comes across in your interviews, bro. Like you actually are a fan. Like you actually,
I am a fan.
Yeah, you are a fan.
I am a fan.
You're not like you just sit and you just read a QR code real quick on Google about what they're doing. Like exactly what they've been doing, where they were going, and where they were doing, and it comes through so good, bro. Like you're really good at what you do, man. And I appreciate what you do. Like me personally, I have to do better at interviewing people. I get yelled at all the time, especially by Freema. I cut people off. She's like, you're constantly cutting off Tony, and I'm bad at that. And part of that's because
I will say this because I'm going to cut you off there. But
there you go.
But that's not a bad thing. I will say that when I started out, it was like that for me, and that's something that you have to learn and grow into. I had Michael Rosenbaum on the show, and he said that exact same thing when he started his Inside of You podcast. He kept cutting people off. He had to learn how to listen to people and then react after they finish. And that's something that we really learn. I mean, you're now 1 year in, you're now in season 2. I feel like that's definitely going to be something, especially now that you're going to start having more guests pop into the show and into the studio, you're going to learn how to listen and then react to people. That's not something that you're going to pick up right away. That for me, it definitely was something that I had to really, really learn and encompass. So I'm definitely not going to sit here and say it was a quick study.
What it is for you, people like you and me, is we're really highly intelligent, right? And we've talked to people a lot in our lives, right? So we see where the conversation is going, and we're like, oh, and then you know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, I got this. Freaking it's not that we're not listening. We just see where the conversation is going, and we're already at the end of the sentence before you get there.
And some like that, and you're going to notice that too, because there are going to be some people that sort of look for that. You're going to pick up when you read them, especially when you're seeing them face to face, you get to see their reactions. And when you kind of do exactly what you just did there, some will love that. And then some don't like that. And you'll notice that too. But when you pick up on the fact that they love it, keep going with that. Roll with that. Finish out that sentence, and then it's literally going to be that open conversation that is going to relax them, because that's really what I've noticed when I've seen interviews of others when they're interviewing people and their interview style, and I'm seeing that happen. People are pretty much now open to anything. They just now relax, they're in their comfort zone. So you're going to see that. I'm still seeing that now with what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, I get nervous as shit still when I do a lot of this stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah. And I tell people all the time, if I don't get nervous when I do shows, that means I'm stagnant and I'm bored. So,
Really?
oh yeah. And that's literally the thing. No matter how long I've done this, I could sit here and I could have interviewed somebody 8 times and I still get butterflies in my stomach before
No
I start
shit.
that interview. And I say to everybody, that's a good thing for me. I love that I get nervous because that shows I still love it. I still
Yeah.
enjoy what I do. If I wasn't nervous, if I wasn't scared a little bit before I hit that record button, I'm bored. And what am I still doing? What am I still doing here? Why am I still doing it? Feels like I've already done what I needed to do and I should be doing
Yeah.
nothing more. The fact that
Wow.
I still get excited and I
Yeah.
still get nervous and I still get that little twinge of a scaredy cat in me is a huge thing for me. That puts me in overdrive. I love it. I love having that feeling. So
That's fucking awesome.
and
I don't get that. Like I
I
don't like I get it,
and
I get where I'm not saying I don't get where you're I'm saying that me personally,
you
I don't
don't
get
get
nervous.
you don't get like nervous at all or anything.
No, I guess it's funny because Tony does too. Tony gets nervous too, right? And he starts thinking in his head, what he starts putting his game plan, and that's why he's really successful at what he does, and you're really successful. I am a fly by the seat of my pants.
And that works for
I
people.
have
That works for you though. And that's
yeah,
not
like
a bad thing either.
like
Me, I'm sitting there going like, I gotta think of what I'm gonna ask these people. And especially when you get to those points where you're having interviews with, yes, I've interviewed Harrison Ford and I was scared out of my mind. Then I'm interviewing Wagner Moore, who's nominated for an Oscar, and
yeah,
and then meeting Tiana Taylor the way that I did. I didn't
it's
know what was
amazing,
going
by
to
the way.
happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, and she was gorgeous. And
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, bro. That's amazing.
she was amazing. The story behind that too was the best.
Yeah,
That was the best.
you have to share that on Tuesday. You have to share that on Tuesday.
I will share that on Tuesday. That was
Yeah.
that was the best story of how that went down. But when I see these people, I just start thinking in my head, what am I going to say to them? What is the first thing I'm going to say to them? What's going to come out of my mouth? And I just start running miles a minute because I just start getting nervous. I wish I could be that guy that could just clock in as soon as they
Yeah.
get right to my spot. I'm not that guy. And then as soon as that, and it's I don't know what it is, but it's something to when they just say hello, they shake my hand, and then all of a sudden I think the nerves calm down, and then all of a sudden I'm in it to win it. So
Yeah,
then
you're in the moment. You're in the moment.
I'm in the moment at that point because
Yeah.
I see how relaxed they get a little bit. And then
Yeah.
it just relaxes me because, they talk to these people all the time. They're probably talking to press outlets throughout the entire day. They spent too many hours dealing with us. So I'm also trying not to be that person where they're hearing the same question 1,000 times because most of these junkets that happen, they're getting the same question over and over and over.
Over and over and over again.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. I'm kind of sitting here going like, well, let me ask them this. And it's funny that you pointed that out, which is a good point, is that I am a fan. And because I am a fan, I'm able to come from it from the perspective of being professional, but also being a fan. So
Yeah,
I
dude,
get to
you
ask
do that really well, Buzz. Like you do that to cut you off, but you do that really, really well, bro. Like I want to give you props for that. Like I said, I watched that Harrison Ford interview. I watched the other interviews you did with some other people. I watched your podcast, and you were so good at knowing the people, right? Like knowing, like you don't come across as an interviewer or like a super fan. You come off as a generally person that actually cares about their career and what they've done and where they're going. You know what I mean? And I love that about you. Like I love that about you. You do such a good job with that, bro. You amazing job.
it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to kind of find that balance because you either are going to go the way of the obsessive fan or you're going to go the way of being a very big journalist approach. So
Dry. I call it
there's
dry.
no,
When you do a journalist approach, you're being dry. There's no emotional
there is a
impact to
dry,
that.
and that's the perfect word. It is dry.
Yeah,
I never thought of it like that, but you're right. It is dry, and
it's dry.
there's no, there's a lot of people that don't find that counterbalance or find that balance to be a
Uh,
mixture of both. So me feeling like I have that mixture of both when I watch back, the shrinking one for sure is the one I watch back the most because I hate watching myself sometimes. I hate it, but I think everybody has that. It's not just me. I think everybody doesn't like to
I
watch
don't.
themselves.
I don't
They're
watch
their
anything I
biggest.
do.
They're their biggest critic. I am my worst critic is when I
Yeah,
watch myself, and that's the
yeah,
thing. But then when I did that episode, when I did that show, when I did those interviews with those guys from the Cast of Shrinking, that's the one I keep watching because I look at it and I went, holy fucking shit, this was
Uh,
good. This was
yeah,
good because it was, to your point, I never looked at it in this way. When you said how much I knew of them and what I knew of their characters, what I knew of the show, when I heard some of those questions that came out of my mouth,
oh,
I
dude, it's
literally
spot
sat
on,
there and
bro.
I was like, oh my God, did I really ask that? And
Yeah, it
I
was
mean that in
spot
the
on,
best way
dude.
possible. And I mean that in the best way possible because it was like going back to what we said, I'm listening to them and I was
Yeah,
listening to their conversation of how they were describing their characters. And then I was calling back to talking about their characters from this kind of perspective.
yeah,
And it's taking from not just promoting their show, but now I'm basically talking to you about the character as a whole. I'm talking to you basically getting to know the character, going in depth the character. And
yeah,
mind you, that those interviews each were 5 minutes apiece.
yeah.
So imagine watching that at 15 minutes and you feel like you're getting a lot of info out of them and it feels like longer than it's 5 minutes. For me, I didn't think it was 5 minutes. And
Yeah,
I'm just literally watching it and I'm just going, this is fucking really good. I didn't really
yeah,
think that
yeah.
it was this way and it came off this way. And then watching it back and then hearing how much they thought it was a great question, they thought it was a great interview and they loved it.
That was, dude.
And they themselves saying it in the interview itself, I just thought they were saying that. But
Nah,
then,
nah, dude.
but then,
You were
but
spot
then,
on, bro. You were spot on. Like I think a
and
lot of
then when I watched it, that's when I was like, oh, okay, now I see what they're
yeah,
saying, and that's why I was like,
yeah,
yeah, this was it. This was really
yeah.
good.
No, it's spot on, dude. It's you owning your craft, bro. You did really, really well, man. I think a lot of the interviewers that I see are people just regurgitating things, and they don't really care about the character themselves, what they're playing, right? And you know as well as I do, as an artist and as an actor, the most important thing to them is their character, right? That they're
Their
playing,
character.
right? So I think the fact that you actually went in depth about the character and how they related to it and everything else was it was just perfect, bro. It was really good, man. You do really good at what you do, Buzz. There's something about you that nobody else does as well as you do, from
I
what I've
think
seen.
you have to. I feel like you have to if you're going to be in that kind of a field where you're interviewing those type of people, you have to know what you're talking about. And by
Agreed.
that I mean like you have to watch their show
Yep.
and not just watch it. You have to enjoy the show. If you don't
Yeah.
enjoy the show, don't do this. You don't
Yeah.
have to do this. You don't have to do this interview. I'm going to tell you guys, if you ever get pitched, yes, you could watch the screeners, but if you feel like it's not something that's made for you and you don't feel invested in it, you don't have to do the interviews with them because
Yeah.
they're going to know. There's one I've noticed in an interview, and I've spoken to someone who conducted this interview. I'm friends with him, and he flat out said that they know when you don't watch the show.
Yeah.
They know
Yeah.
when you don't watch the show. And I was like, no, they know. I'm well
Yeah.
aware because I've seen it. But that's the thing I like to tell people is that if you don't watch the show, they're going to know. So please don't put yourself into that position to where it's going to backfire on you and you're just doing it because of clout reasons.
Yeah.
Because
I
there
agree.
are people that are out there that do that too. Please do this because you enjoy the show. And I'm not, and I mean, that can go for the bigger outlets too, like Extras and Entertainment Tonight's and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, they're doing it because that's their job and that's mostly who they have to talk to. But primarily for the outlets that are like me, like yourself, mainly those that are not quote unquote mainstream.
Yeah.
Do this because you love it. Do it because
Yeah.
you love what you do. And I'm sure I'm going to repeat this on Tuesday, which is fine. And that's okay because I say this all the time. Do it because you love it. Don't do it because as you said yourself, validation. Don't do it
That
for
is.
that. Don't do
Yeah.
it for that. And I love how all of these things that we keep bringing up, these factoids that we keep bringing up, it all ties back to earlier conversation that we had in this show because it's very, very true. People are looking for validation. People are looking for this. And I'm sitting here going like, no, if you're not doing this for you, if you're not doing this for you, you're not being your authentic self, and people are going to notice you're not being your authentic self.
Yep.
So,
Well, yeah. I mean, look at those fitness creators right now. You know, you got that guy that's Scotty Too Fit, and you have that Malibu guy who blew up out
the
of nowhere.
Malibu guy, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, blew up out of nowhere, man. Freaking. And now, granted, the Malibu guy came out and admitted he was wrong, right? He lied about getting ID to the face and all that stuff.
I
Blah,
remember
blah,
that.
blah. I give him credit for being honest and coming out and saying that. Where Scotty blamed everybody else for his cancellation, right?
Right.
I think in any of this field, in social media or in what we do, anytime you wear a mask, it's eventually going to fall off.
It's going to fall off.
It's going to fall off, man, and the real you is going to stick out. So why don't you start from the beginning and get everybody like you first? Yeah, be you. You know what I mean? Be you, and then go for it. You know, dude. My first, so my first red carpet interview. I've already done two, but my very first one, was this place called Mupo Entertainment. Fucking don't even get me started on it. So they were having this awards gala.
Another time. There you
go. They were doing this awards gala, and all these famous soap opera people were there. Which you probably know them, right? Like the one girl was the girl's married to the one guy. She's in The Boys, and she was in American Horror Story. Freaking her husband does the soap opera stuff. So I go in there, right? I go in there the day before, check everything out. And I'm like, all right, so I got to look at this, and this. So I think they're going to give me an itinerary.
Okay, that's fair.
Who I'm interviewing, you know, what their background is, what they're promoting.
They're going to give you a face sheet.
A face sheet, right? I walk in there 2 hours before the show, and I see, and I'm supposed to host the show too. I'm supposed to open up the show. So I walk in there. It says Chris David Red Carpet does this thing. Chris opens up the show, 5 minutes, does his thing. Right now, I'm like, okay, I've never done any of this before, none. Right? So I walk up to the producer and I go, yo, man. Says Chris does this thing. What's my thing?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
What's the thing?
He goes, your thing, bro. And he passed me the shoulder. He walks away. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Right? So now I get all these soap opera people I've never met before in my life. I don't watch soaps. I think the last time I saw a soap opera was General Hospital when my mom was like, you know, I was like 5 or 6, you know? So thank God the girl I was with knew most of the people. So like she was like, that's such and such, blah, blah, blah. So they would come up and I literally go, I'm like, hey, how you doing, Sally? My name is Chris David. Welcome to Mupo Entertainment's award gala. You know, why don't we tell everybody who you are, what you're promoting, what shows they can see you on, and do all this stuff, right? And it worked out great, right? So then I go to host the show, I go to open the show, and I go, all right, I got to do 5 minutes, right? So I'm like, all right, so what am I going to do for 5 fucking minutes?
Wow.
And you know as well as I do, 5 minutes in those kind of environments feels like forever, right?
Yeah, it does.
So I go to the camera guy, I go, listen, I go up to the camera guy, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go up and I'm going to introduce the wrong show. And I want you to come up to me and whisper in my ear and go, dude, you're at the wrong show. And I'm going to rip the paper and go, oh, fuck, freaking, where am I at again? So and it worked. Everybody loved it. Everybody was clapping. When it was all said and done, dude, I'm done. And I'm like, you know, the whole time, like I was like, fuck, man, like I really hope I pulled this off, you know. And the producer and everybody came up to me, even the actors came up to me, they're like, oh, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, it's my first one.
Yeah,
it's my very first one. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, bro.
They didn't give you any direction, and you just basically went in there and killed it.
Yeah, I ran with it, bro. I just ran with it. So it's funny. It's like, you know, like everything I do, man. Like I got a college I'm going to speak at in Ohio for mental health the end of this month, and I asked them. I was like, you know, what's the whole theme of this? You know, you guys are paying me to come here, you know, to speak about what? And they're like, oh, mental health. I'm like, well, how many speakers do you have? They're like, none, just you. I'm like,
oh.
I'm like, oh. I was like, how many people am I speaking in front of? They're like, oh, about 250 students and about 100 staff. You know, they're going to be psychiatrists or, you know, all this stuff there, right?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I didn't even graduate college. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys? And you guys are paying me to come here? I'm like, freaking. So I'm like, so I go, and she goes, well, listen, you do a Q&A or whatever, right? So at first I started getting all stressed about it. I was like, man, what the fuck? You know, what am I going to do? I went to college 5 times. I was so fucked up on drugs. I remember 4. I was like, so like, what am I going to do? You know?
Wait a minute.
So I'm like, so I go, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what I do best, man. I'm at first I was going to write a whole game plan and everything else, but I'm not. I'm going to go in there and just own it. I'm going to go in there and ask people questions about what they think about, you know, what do they think the issue of mental health is today? You know, and I'm going to do a whole live Q&A.
That's a solid opener, though.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a whole thing about Q&A because I figured out, bro. And this is something me and you probably didn't think about because of our age, right? That there's a whole generation of kids that are in college right now that grew up through COVID. and they are going through they have such a huge spike in depression and anxiety and mental health in these colleges now. They don't know how to cope with it, right? And the thing is, they have this anxiety, this stress that was put on them, right? It really was. When we think about, you guys were kids. As a kid, I don't remember my mom struggling for money. I knew we didn't have money, but I remember her being stressed out about it. My same with my dad. You know what I mean? Like I don't remember the stress and anxiety of all that, right? But that whole COVID thing, we had parents who actually literally put the stress and anxiety of dealing with that on their kids. So now these kids are carrying that burden. They're carrying that burden of that anxiety, that stress that they felt going through COVID and not being able to cope with it and deal with it because they've never had a generation have to deal with that before, right? So those are topics that those are topics that I'm going to hit about and talk about, to say that you're actually carrying your parents' anxiety, your parents' depression, your parents' thought of what the world is. And it kind of robs you of your identity of how you should be handling all this, right? COVID sucks. Because in my mind, I think COVID was that bad, right? I mean, most people were just fucking watching porn and playing video games and fucking, you know what I mean? So I was thinking everyone was fine, right? But when you think about the younger generation, that was a hell of an impact, right? Because there's a lot of parents that didn't know how to cope with it. And the parents put a lot of that stress, a lot of anxiety on their kids, and they carried that with them into where they are now as adults. So that's how I'm going to approach that whole scenario for them, and let them know that
so confined, because there was no place to go, so everybody was in the house. So who knows what could have happened behind closed doors? Some people thought it was the best thing. Some people, we don't know, probably thought this wasn't the best thing because
they thought it was the end of the world. Most people thought it was the end of the fucking world. I know a lot of people, man, were freaking, the rapture's coming. Freaking,
as you already know how much I do enjoy talking to people. You yourself is a social butterfly. So I even was like, people were texting me going like, how are you coping with this? Because you're not seeing anybody. COVID for me opened up a lot of eyes to people, which is why I was not upset at not being around people. If anything, it made me feel better about my life at one point. And so I was very happy to not be anywhere, but at one point. And then when things started slowly open up, I was around, but it was just like I kind of kept it low key a little bit. So and it just manifested as time went on, because now it just really, like I said, it was very different at that time, to where I was now able to see people for who they really are. And then I was now able to kind of just keep my distance. And COVID helped me learn how to keep my distance. And now it made me realize, oh, I don't have to be everywhere. I don't have to feel like I have FOMO. And now having that, I love when I get the days where I just sit there and go, dude, I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to deal with anybody. I want to stay home. I want to watch Friends. I want to watch I Love Lucy. I don't care. I am not dealing with you. And a majority of the time, I will literally sit there and say, I'm not hanging out because I got to edit my podcast, because I don't have the time of the week. So weekends is literally this. And then I now say it as an excuse to when I don't do it. I'll use it as an excuse to when I don't do it. I just go like, no, I'm editing the podcast. I'm not editing shit. I'm just staying home. So,
right. No, I think so. To bring it back full circle before we close this off here, to bring it back full circle, I think what you're saying is spot on, right? So part of self-love, right? Loving yourself. I think that's something we didn't really hit on, is self-love, right? We live in a society where when you say you love yourself, people automatically assume it to ego and narcissism, and they don't assume it to self-care, right? And you setting those boundaries is self-love, right? You setting boundaries and cutting people off is not a bad thing. You're not saying those people deserve, to be less than who they are. You're just saying that you love yourself enough to keep those people at a distance and respect yourself enough for your own personal mental health. And there's nothing. I think a lot of people, especially because you and me are the same in that aspect, that we're people pleasers. And I can tell already, we like to make people happy, right? We like to see people happy, and we're people pleasers. Like, we don't like to say no, right? We don't like to hurt people.
We don't like to say no. Yeah,
no.
That's true.
So I think understanding that part of that self-love, right, is setting those boundaries, right? Is setting that, and it's funny too, because the moment you set those boundaries, and I think you can vouch for this too, the moment we set those boundaries, we actually get more respect and more love from other people, because they see that they see you for who you are, and they're like, oh, okay, this I'm going to respect this person for who he is and the boundaries he set. And I think people care more about that. It's almost like that tough love thing for kids, right?
Mhm.
I think part of the reason we have such a society we do now is because too much gentle parenting. we,
Oh
we, have,
yeah,
we haven't
yeah.
set boundaries for our kids, right? And I think I think my son can vouch for it. He knows I care about him, not only because I tell him I love him all the time, but he knows that when he messes up, I'm going to hold him accountable for that, right? Because I want to see him succeed, right? I want to see him do really well in school. I want him to be the best version of himself he can be, right? So me holding him accountable for that is me showing I love him and care. And that tough love is important, even as adults. I think we need that tough love. We need that honest respect for each other, to be real with each other, and to say hard truths to each other, right? And I think when you do that, it's not only just showing that person you care about them, but it's also showing that you care about yourself. And I think that's one of the things that we need to learn for mental health is that it is okay. It is okay to love yourself. It is absolutely 100% okay to love you and to give yourself. And I love this analogy to give yourself the same love and respect as if you would give to somebody you were dating. That same patience, that same understanding, that
Yeah.
same forgiveness is important to give to yourself as if you would give to somebody that you truly love and that you're with. I think it's a great way to go.
That's awesome, dude. I don't even know how else I can end that. I don't even know how else I can end that. I mean, honestly, I thought I was just gonna say there is nothing wrong with saying no, but dude,
Yeah,
I mean, and that's also true. I mean, honestly, there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong
saying
saying
no.
no.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with saying no. I love
yeah.
when I get to say no now, and
Right?
I am better for myself because of it. I do think a lot of people respect me more because I am saying no because I'm not around it everything, and because everybody would expect me to be everywhere. They're always messaging me like, "You're always everywhere. You're all over the place. Where are you?" And I
Yeah,
actually get to tell them I'm home because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I don't
You know,
want to
you know,
be,
you
you know.
know, somebody helped me out with that when they said to me, they said, everybody wants what they can't have. If
Oh,
you're
that's good.
if
That's
yeah,
good.
everybody wants what they can't have, right? So if you are accessible to everybody, you've devalued who you are, right?
Yeah.
You want to make that valuable. You want people to want what they can't have. Yeah.
That's probably the perfect way to end that. I
I love
thought the
that, right?
last part was that part's probably the good part. I like that because it's very true. It is very true. Everybody wants what they can't have, and I
Yeah.
love that. I love that saying because I've said it too, but it's so fucking true,
Right,
and
dude. So true, bro.
fucking true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
dude, 2.5 hours, man, with you was absolutely phenomenal. I basically I felt like we were doing Advice Unfiltered right now because it's
Yeah,
normally
dude,
two and a
no,
half
no, it's
hours.
great.
I mean, that's
Honestly,
legit.
God, Buzz, I've done a lot of podcasts in the last 2 years. This has been I'm very excited and very humbled, and thank you very much for letting me be on yours, bro. I really do appreciate it, man. Like I think you're a great guy. I love what you do, man. I'm excited to have you on the show on Tuesday. I think it's gonna be epic, and you're a great catalyst to what we're doing, right? Like we had Donut Daddy on, which is great. But for where we're going and the next lineup of people we have coming on, you are a great starter to bring that in. And then we have to bring you back after you do your big thing, man. We have to come back and when you do your Oscars, you got to come back and
Oh,
freaking tell us how it went. You know what I mean? I'm excited for that, bro. When you go do that, you got to come back and let us know. You know?
I, dude, I would love to. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you no. I'm always going to be there for you. No way, shape,
Good,
or
good.
form.
Listen, you tell everybody else no but me.
I mean, you're the one that doesn't want to know anything. So I was like, if it happens, Tony will know before you, and then we'll surprise you. There you go.
There you go. There you
I,
go.
I'm excited for Tuesday. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
Tuesday and having some fun with you guys. This is going to be so much fun. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and
good.
the fact that we were able to make it work and make it happen is freaking bomb ass amazing. Um, yeah, and then when I do the thing Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday, I know Oscars is that same day, but then I'm also doing that local con thing. Get to let you guys know how that went. Um,
Yeah. There's a local con thing?
so um, yeah, at the college that's close to my house, they're doing this. It's called Nerd Nexus, and they started it last year, and they reached out to me and they were like, "We want you to be like a guest," and I'm like, "A guest of what?" you know,
Oh,
hey, what do you need a guest? And then they were like, "Well, we want you to MC the cosplay contest." I said, Oh,
That's awesome, bro.
okay. I don't know why you would want me, but okay.
No, that's
And
awesome.
no, I'm excited for that. And then and to see everybody and have some fun with them and do that. It's just why would you pick me to do that? But but
Yeah,
it kind
not
of ties
good.
back, and
I
then it ties
listen.
back to what you were saying. Like you didn't think people would notice you from what you're doing with the show, and then I'm also
Uh,
sitting here like I didn't think people would notice what we're doing my show either. And
uh,
that's really why they asked me, is because of everything that has happened within the past year. And that award that's sitting next to me that I look at pretty much every freaking day. And I say that, and I say that with love, by the way. I say that with love to the
yeah,
award that's sitting there. No, because it really was. Once I won that, a lot of people had really started paying attention who were local to me from that, because I didn't think I would ever get an award from it after all the years that I've done it. Um, I submitted for it the year before, and I did not get.
really.
I submitted in 2024, um, and I was not selected. But then it also probably stemmed from the category I submitted in. So I don't
Yeah,
think I probably should have submitted an indie podcast for sure.
yeah.
Um, so I chalked it up to where it landed, because then when I submitted in the category I submitted in for, I was like, oh yeah, they loved it. I get why,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I now
Well,
understand where it should have went.
it
But
was funny. Our podcast, when we had the award, we didn't know we were in it until the week before. And freaking, and then like we
oh, okay,
like Tony submitted us, but
yeah, yeah.
he wasn't checking his emails, so we had no idea that we actually got picked. And freaking,
Oh
and then, so we had no
no,
clue. So it was a Thursday. Tony calls me, and goes, "Yo, bro, we're in for an award." I'm like, "Really?" He's like,
yeah,
"Yeah." I was like, "For what?" He's like, "Self help and self improvement." I'm like, "No fucking way." And I think there was like 5 people in that category. I think there was,
I think
and
so.
we went on there, and that girl was like top, and then there was like a bunch of other ones that were like right there. We were at the last place, bro.
Yeah.
And I said, "All right, bro." I said, "We're gonna win this." I said, "We're gonna win it." I was gonna watch, and I made a post. And in a week, it was a one day. It was literally 12 hours. We went from last place to first place, thanks to our followers and our listeners, and we held that for the fucking week, bro. Like, and it was so funny, dude, because like. I knew, man. I was like, we're gonna win. I was like, I knew we are gonna win. Like, there's just when I have a certain feeling about something, like I did about the podcast being it's gonna be number one eventually one day. Like I know this, right? So if we could,
Yeah.
so I had this feeling, and Tony and his son were like, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. And I was like, we're going to
Mm.
fucking win, bro. And we're going to win. Watch.
And
And
then
then
you did.
I was training my client, Evan, and Tony called me in the morning and the phone was ringing. And I looked at my client. I go, I'm going to answer this. He goes, I was like, this is Tony. Tell me we won the podcast. He goes, you think
Yeah.
you won? I was like, I guarantee it. So I put him on speaker. I go, what's up, bro? And he's like, we fucking won. I go, I'm sorry, Tony. I go, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. What did you say? He's like, we fucking won. I was like, I fucking told you, bro. I
that's
fucking told
that's
you,
that's
man.
freaking amazing. My category had 10 in it, and as soon as and I was in third place, but and it was like Mel Robbins was also in it, and she didn't promote it until maybe like a few days before. And as soon as she did, I
Really?
was like, there we go. The Mel Robbins is now in it, so that we can't. But and that was
Are
okay.
you in, are you in this New York City one?
I did not submit for that one.
No.
I was
So
going to. I was going to, but I did not submit for that one. No.
we're up against Gary Burkhart, who's got like 2.9 million followers. He's like Dana White's right hand man.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's gonna be a tough one to win, freaking. You know what I mean? Freaking.
I mean,
But
I've been voting every day, but since it
thank you,
opened,
appreciate
so
you, bro. Thank
I
you.
have been voting. But yeah, I was contemplating on submitting that one, but I did not. I submitted for the Telly Awards, and I'm waiting for that. They're supposed to announce those winners in June, but I'm submitting for the People's Telly, which is like
Is that a voting?
that's a voting.
So listen, when you do that, clip out your thing, send it to me, or collaborate with me, and we'll get all my followers to vote for you, bro.
Okay,
All right.
I will let you know when I hear that. That's supposed to come out next month, and
All right.
so hopefully that gets short. It's supposed to get, if you do get it, it'll get shortlisted by the judges, and then they open it up to the public to vote, and then
Okay.
that's when I will.
Yeah, yeah.
If that happens, if I move into that next round, oh, absolutely, game
Yeah,
on,
fuck yeah, bro. We got you. Hell
game
yeah.
on, absolutely, got absolutely. So we're in it to win it, man. But no, man, I appreciate you and everything that you do, and thank you for being now family at this point. You
Thank
like
you, bro.
that? You like that?
Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that.
Yes. I mean, you are now. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. You're family. You're absolutely family, bro. We appreciate you, dude. Like I said, we're really excited to have you on Advice Unfiltered next week. It's gonna be an amazing show. I'm really excied to have you on, bro.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be.
That's gonna be epic, dude. You know, the best part is you're gonna see how I feel when the questions are.
Dude, I can't wait for that. I mean, but you're now gonna see my face too when I hear them, because obviously you can't see me when they ask, and I'm pretty much on the other side of the TV going, "The fuck?"
Dude, I know.
And I'm just sitting there like, which one was it? It was the one where the second time where the guy wore the woman's clothes.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally just sat there and I was just like, bitch, what?
Yeah. How do you fuck that up? She literally went out and bought the clothes for you to wear and for her to wear, and you put hers on?
You put hers on.
Here's my thing. How small are you, bro, that it didn't fit you? Because I know every girl I date, I couldn't put her fucking clothes on if I wanted to. Like, it would be no way. There's no fucking way.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait to offer some of my comments to that if I ever hear that, because what the fuck?
No, you will, dude. It's gonna be fun, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see your reaction and everything. I think it's the funnest part about the show is the reaction of everything.
The
right?
reaction is the best part of all of it. I really enjoy the reactions to it, and because it's just so unexpected, and for you specifically, because you don't know what comes through. So that's fun for us to watch your reaction. But then at the same time, we have the same reactions too, because because then we're reading the comments and we're going, when I'm reading them and I'm seeing it and then saying it out loud, I'm going, what the fuck?
Right?
I'm like, there's people out there that think this. I'm still waiting to hear about the guy with the cat.
Yes.
The cat. I haven't heard. I thought we were gonna get a follow up. He did not follow up on that, dude. Absolute pleasure, man.
Yeah, dude. No, absolutely. Thank you. Listen, Buzz. Honestly, thank you. I'm humbled and I'm very honored to be on your show. So thank you very much, man.
Absolutely. We're gonna do this again.
Good. Can't wait.
Good. You know why? Because I believe that we're gonna do this again.
Because I believe in you. 100%. You know what's funny? Is my best friend Bobby, the one I was talking to, looks like Michael Joel White.
Yeah.
Love him to death. But he started saying, I believe in you at the end of his videos. So then I was like, and everybody, all my friends were like, everybody else is saying, like, oh, you see your boy Bobby's copying you? I'm like, it's okay. I was like, don't copy me. He's passing on positivity. Nothing wrong with that, man. If anything, it's an honor for him to do that, right? Because I respect him a lot. So then I put it at the end of it, I believe in the best in you. So that way it stays mine, right?
Oh, it's now yours, yeah.
So now the cookbook, this guy approached me. You ever watch Sugar Rush on Netflix?
No.
It's a dessert show, right? So he was on this dessert show. And he approached me because he wrote a cookbook and he wants to do a cooking show, but he knows he doesn't have the presence that I do, right?
Right.
So he asked me to go into business with him. And he gives me all the numbers, and I get 80, he gets 20, and he does most of the work, and I'm just the face, and blah, blah, blah. So he walks away, and I'm talking to my other business partner, and she's like, so what do you think? I was like, I already got a name for the book and the show. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what do I say? All the time on my videos. She goes, I believe in you. I'm like, I believe in the best in you. The best in you cookbook. The best in you cooking show. So that way we're making a healthy food for you and shit. So it's all going to tie together.
That makes so much sense.
So much sense, right? So much sense. And yeah, for my end, man, I just want to say thank you. And I appreciate you. And if anybody doubts, chasing their dreams, just look at us. Look at us, bro.
Look at us.
Look at us, dude. Here we are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And again, like the idea that we're even having this conversation now is 1 in a trillion, right? That we're here on this planet and sharing the same exact experience at the same time. So thank you to everybody that watched, and thank you for letting me bring on, and thank you for being an advocate for mental health, dude. We need more men like you. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Later, bro.
Much love.